Call to order the regular meeting of the school board for Monday, December 8th, 2025. The first item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. I invite you to stand as you are able. Item 1A, the reading of our school board meeting norms. Mr. Clevin.
That might work better. First, be prepared. Second, be on time. Third, value and respect each other. Fourth, exercise thoughtful deliberation and conversation. 5, be professional at the board table and when visiting in the general public. 6, speak up when the norms are not being followed. And 7, advocate on behalf of students and keep the community in mind.
Thank you. Item 2 is the approval of tonight's agenda. I would seek a motion to approve the agenda as outlined in your board packet. Mr. Manley, is there a second? By Mr. Palmasino. Take a roll call vote.
Manley?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Hodak?
Yes.
Clevin?
Yes.
Larson is absent. Palmasino?
Yes.
Flynn is absent. Lunn?
Yes.
Berger?
Yes.
7 yes, 0 no, 2 absent.
Motion passes. Item 3, celebrating success. We have a team from Schrader Middle School. We invite you all to the podium at this time for your presentation. Thank you.
All right, good evening, school board. President Berger, Vice President Anderson, and school board members, we are Schrader Middle School. We're happy to be here tonight. Thank you so much for this opportunity to present to you guys today. I'd like to just introduce our team here. My name is Dave Nowatzki. I'm the principal of Schrader Middle School. This is Judy Anderson, our associate principal, Blake Neubauer, and Michelle Ruse, our counselors. And so we're all going to take a turn at the mic here to tell you a little bit about Schrader. Just a little overview. We're going to talk about our mission, vision, and values a little bit and some of the demographics at Schrader, as well as our Be Legendary goals and some of the academic achievement we've achieved around those goals. Some of the structures and systems for the success that we've seen, just to give you somewhat of an idea. And then our counselors are going to step to the mic and talk a lot about their programs here and some of the success they've seen as well. And then we'll finish it up with a little panorama survey results. Our mission at Schrader Middle School is to inspire a community of learners to strive for excellence through meaningful experiences. It was not long ago that the staff met over the course of a year to adopt a mission and a vision and a values that we thought captured the things we believe at Schrader. And our vision is to build critical thinkers who embrace challenges to grow as individuals and a community. Our values are the 5 you see up there. These are present throughout our building and referenced in a lot of the work that we do. So I think that the things that you hear tonight, hopefully you can draw these themes throughout those. But we believe in growth mindsets. We're a middle school, right? So we students make mistakes, and so does staff, and so does the principal, for that matter. And so we all learn from the different things that we do, and we believe that by trying stuff, that's how you learn. We believe in high expectations, both academics and behavior. We keep a safe and supportive environment in our school, so thinking of our HRS work with that, we're level 1 and level 2 qualified, and level 1 has all to do with a safe and supportive environment. We believe in forming collaborative relationships between the students and the staff at our school and the families involved. And we think we are basically creating respectful and problem-solving citizens. So that is a picture actually of our Basie Bash. That's Kirby Crefting, one of our FIAD teachers, talking about one of our events in the fall where we celebrate fall activities in the honor of Troy Basie, a former and passed on staff member, beloved staff member of the Schrader staff. Yeah. This is a little bit on our demographics. You can kind of see the breakdown of the diversity at Schrader. These fluctuate quite a bit depending on the year, because as you can see, there's not many numbers up there in some of those categories. A total enrollment of 575 students. Here's a snapshot of our enrollment history. I pulled this off of the ND Insights website that's available to our public. You can see our enrollment over the last 9 years. It's grown. 9 years ago we were at 463 students, and over the years we've pulled more students into Schrader from outside of our property lines. Right now 576 is the current enrollment. Actually, it's not 576 at all, it's 574, because that number does fluctuate, and it even did from the time I made this slide. But just to highlight, there's 87 students in grades 6 through 8 that we serve at Schrader that actually live outside of our district boundaries. Some of these are general ed students, some are special ed students that come to our programs that we have, and I'll speak about that here in just a moment. Here's a breakdown of our student body by grade level. If you want to look at the 8th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, there's roughly 190 to almost 200 in each grade level. And then by team, there's 2 teams on each grade level, roughly 90 to 90, well, anywhere from 92 to 100 students based on what I have up there. And so if you were thinking maybe approximate class sizes, core classes run roughly 19 to 20 students. Students in elective classes are a little higher, 24 to 25, and of course those numbers fluctuate just depending on scheduling and staff. Our school motto this year is never back down, never give up. For the last few years, our 7th graders have created or proposed a school motto that they then vote on, and then we adopt that for our 8th grade year. And so it's a pretty democratic process. And this year, just to get the students into it, we ran a poster contest. So all the posters you see up there are all student creations. Some of the top ones are hanging in our hallways right now, and we'll change those up as the year goes on because we had a lot of entries. So it was just a great way to get them involved in sharing our school motto. And we incorporate this into a lot of our events and speaking, like our award assemblies and things like that. So a little bit on our staff and programming and building. We've got roughly 55 teachers, and I put kind of roughly because we have a couple of part-time, so I didn't know how it all shakes loose, to be honest with you. But we got 2 admin and 2 counselors and a 0.6 social worker that we share with an elementary school, and then 1 instructional coach. On the classified side, 32 paraprofessionals, 4 classroom specialists. We're shy 1 cook. We should have 4. I think we've got 1 in the hopper here. Hopefully we can fill that position. That's gets to be a pretty busy kitchen without that 4th cook. 5 custodians, 2 secretaries. I just want to say a little bit about our certified staff. It is about the finest I've ever worked with. I've worked in a handful of schools. I think the Schrader staff is, I don't know if I've worked with people that model behavior for students better than the students at Schrader. And so we have a saying at Schrader, it's everyone matters, and it means that we take care of each other at Schrader, and the staff do an awesome job. I think we teach behavior, but we also model it, and that's really where students learn, okay? We see a lot of great examples of that day in and day out. On to the special ed programs there. We have 4 special ed programs at Schrader: emotionally disturbed, autism, the intellectually disabled and medically fragile, and the alternate learning plan, or ALP. And so those 32 paraprofessionals, a lot of them work in those programs because there's many one-to-one para needs in those programs. It's an awesome addition to our staff. It does affect the way our numbers look sometimes when you look from 1,000 feet, because some of these rooms have 8 to 10 students, and they have a teacher and a team of paras in there. So our teacher to student ratio is pretty low. I mean, it's about 1 to 14, and I think that has a lot to do with it. Our building was originally built in '61. If you see old pictures of it, you're going to see a field south of Schrader, which doesn't exist anymore. It's all developed, of course. And then those additions you can see, with the latest one being in 1998. That's our 7th and 8th grade wing, if you've ever been in our building. We most recently had a safety and security remodel in 2025. We do have an aging building. I mean, it's starting to show it in some ways. Probably the one we feel the most is just there's no modern HVAC in about 2/3 of our building. And so that's probably something that's been brought up here a handful of times, I know. I know that on the website, the Grand Forks Public School website, under the B&G tab, there's actually a facility assessment from Icon Architects. And this was in 2022, so it probably would be more now, but they estimated HVAC at Schrader to be a $7.5 million project. So that's quite a hurdle for a building our age. So. Recently here, and you'll see on our shirts, we were recognized as a Blue Ribbon School. It was a huge honor. We kind of find out last spring it was a national honor, and it became, right before it was awarded, in August, it became a state level award. We were still proud of it because it was based on those test scores that you see up there. I think that is, we weren't really given the details of how we were recognized, except for that it was our state performance. And so I just wanted to share some of those percentages, and I'll get into a little more detail here in a second. But the exemplary high performing category is based on growth based on your NDSA, or for us NDSA, because North Dakota. That picture we took on the day of our celebration, did our best to get in a ribbon in our t-shirts. Of course, a couple big evergreens cast a couple shadows, but I think it turned out okay anyway. So it was a lot of fun that day. We had some school board represent and Kristen Baszler, shortly before she took off for Washington, D.C., got to come and speak at our school. It was a huge honor. And like we said, it was just kind of a cherry on the top, right? We're just doing the work we thought was the best work, and it's always nice when somebody comes along and recognizes your school in a way like that. So I think that our presentation today is going to shed a little light onto some of the things that, not only our test scores, which I'll get into probably more depth than you even want to hear, but it also, we're going to talk about some of the programmings that we think influence this performance, okay? And if you have any questions or we miss anything that you want to ask us about, by all means at the end, or if you even want to interrupt me, don't worry about that. We work in a middle school. We get that all the time. Okay, so feel free to stop me if you have a question. Okay, we're going to start with our goals, which are reflected right from the district goals, so you're pretty familiar with these. We're looking for growth in ELA. Our particular levels, we're trying to go from 56 proficient and advanced in 23 to 64 proficient in September of 2028. And so it's NDA plus now, but of course I'm going to show you some NDSA scores because that's what we have historically. This particular year, we're shooting for 60% proficient or advanced in ELA. Math, similar, a little bit lower just based on where we're starting out. So a 45% proficiency or advanced in 2023 to 53% proficient or advanced in 2028. And so this particular year, we're looking for a 49% proficient or advanced, again on the NDA plus. So I'm going to take you back a couple years here to NDSA results. Again, just a comparison from the state to the district to our school in terms of performance. And again, this is grades 6 through 8, so this is all together. We had a 57% proficiency or advanced rate compared to the district's 48, state's 44 in ELA, and 46% proficient in math compared to the district's 40 and the state's 39%. And so the following year, due to some efforts, which we'll get into here in a second, on some of the things we did, we believe that got us there, we had a 4% increase in proficiency in ELA and a 7% increase in proficiency in math the following year. So when we share this with our staff and students, and this is a big part, I think, of our success, and Judy will share a few more things that we think weigh into that, is we talk to the kids about the NDSA, and so the teachers are preparing them in their classrooms in terms of obviously with instruction, just tier 1 instruction, but we're also talking about the importance of the test. And so we gather them before and after to talk about the results of the test, and I share graphs like this to try to pump them up a little bit. We say, here's how you did last year. So this would have been graphs for after we were done, but I talk about here's how the 6th grade did last year. So that graph on the left is like 2023 6th grade. So the blue is the previous year, the red is this current year. We talk about besting the class that came before it. On the right is focused on growth. So there's the NDSA performance in the blue for the district as 5th graders, because our 6th graders are from all over. I mean, they're coming from almost every elementary, compared to how they did as 6th graders. So 7th grade, if you wanted to, same same exercise, 7th grade the previous year compared to 7th grade in 2024. And so as we talk to students about this, we also talk to our staff because the NDSA isn't seen as the thing that people come to work to try to get their kids to do. We know it's a performance, it's a data point, but it's important. And so we do talk to our staff about how we talk about the test in front of students and stuff too. Like, so whether you're intentionally or unintentionally talking about the test in a way that makes it seem like maybe we're just doing this to get it done with, to get on to the next thing. It's a no-cost effort to increase your results by talking about it positively and saying, hey, show us what you can do on this. Or, hey, we're trying to show the growth at Schrader Middle School compared to every other school. And so these are results that get shared, things like that. We want kids to take pride in their performance. And we also put out some incentives and things like that. We tell them if we get to a certain level, we're going to celebrate the success, and then we do that. And I think it makes a big difference in terms of the effort that kids put forth. When we schedule these tests, and I'm just going to move to the next slide, because these 8th grade results are impressive. They kind of speak for themselves, so I'll let you take a look at those. When we talk about these results and things like that, we want kids to know how they did. And so, okay, moving on. These are the NDSA results by category. So if you want to see how our subcategories did, red is 23-24 and the blue is 22-23. Again, if you remember the demographics pie chart I showed you, the numbers here are pretty small, and so they fluctuate almost based on that. And, you know, it could be a handful of students that are causing things to change from year to year. This is a look at our math proficiency rates. Okay. And I wanted to share the results because these became recently available to us, NDA Plus from last spring. And so you can see the 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade. These are all ELA results, the state, Grand Forks as a district, and then Schrader Middle School. And then on the far right is our proficiency and advanced combined together. So 53% proficient in 6th grade, 51% in the 7th grade, and 50% in the 8th grade. And then our math results in the spring of 2025 for 6, 7, and 8. So 60% proficient in the 6th, 55% in the 7th, and 54% in the 8th grade. Okay, so that is why we were highlighted as a blue ribbon school. Some of the growth that we've demonstrated on this test, but we know that it is a lot more than that and the things that weigh into that. So I'm going to hand the mic off to Mrs. Anderson, our AP, and she's going to walk you through some of the systems and structures that we have set up for success.
Good evening. Okay, so as Mr. Nowoski said, most of what we're doing is middle school, and we kind of live in that area. So we just keep doing what we're doing, and it turns out well. But it's something that's a constant effort every day, every year, with every new staff member explaining why we're doing middle school the way we are. So one of the part of it, big tenet of middle school, is to have students in teams. So breaking down that 575 students into grade levels, each grade level has 2 teams, and they kind of have their own identity. They have different celebrations, they have different activities that they do as teams, but they're working together on shared expectations. They have the shared teachers that they work with. Some in the 7th and 8th grade even have shared areas of the school, like shared hallways that they can work with that. Keep a closer eye on the students. And through those teams, then each student is broken down into a smaller group, about 10 to 12 students, that they have a rater time, advisory time. Every single morning, we have advisory time. It's got extended a little longer this year because we have added flex time in that time too. and I'll talk about that in a moment. But other things that we do in Raider Time is we walk through, have them talk about their grades, have them talk about their behavior, their citizenship. The teachers teach a second step lesson, which is our SEL lessons for students. We have an opportunity to do circle time, celebrations, and of course always having some fun on Fridays and having some competitions. Flex time is something that we kind of piloted last spring. We have a guiding coalition at Schrader that decided that we didn't want to give up any other instructional time, so we do take 2 days a week out of Raider Time to do flex time. And we are still working through it, but the point of this is to get those students that needed the most help, get them some extra help with that expert teacher. So it might be the math teacher that's pulling some students for this 25-minute time, or other teachers just being there as a guided practice. So we started this year in September and kind of working through that. We have a whole calendar of days that we follow, and we have everybody involved, and I'll get to that. So there's different session types. One, intervention, that would be that small group. We work together as a team from what they've worked with their content PLC also, how to reach those students to get them based on the standards, but also sometimes it's just getting them to turn in their work or to do their work or to assess those students in a smaller group. We have guided work sessions. A lot of times our students just need someone near them to help them finish their work or to answer questions. Each team has a study hall also, though that is for students who are doing everything right. They have all their homework and they are, it's time to read a book or to finish up on projects and things like that. And there's an opportunity for teachers if they want to hold an enrichment session. Other sessions that we are starting is us as an office admin team. We have behavior academies that we're working through, pulling students in that may not need the academic help, or we understand that their academics is probably a result of their behaviors also. So working more one-on-one with students in those areas too. So here's just some data from this year. This is from the RTI scheduler. It's a program that all teachers have access to actually schedule students into an RTI session. You can see what kinds of sessions we've had. The open versus closed means we do not allow our middle school students to choose where they want to go. At the high school level at Red River, they're allowing students to choose. We do not. We want to make sure that they get where they need to go. And then by department too. We don't want to have students see it as a punishment, so we don't have like fun activities for the kids that have everything done. So you may look at like a PE session. We probably don't have too many of those because we don't require students to make up PE if they're missed a class or things like that. Or everybody would want to go play floor hockey instead of getting their work done. Something else that we do at Schrader, and we've done for a very long time, we call it Wonderment Wednesday. So in our middle school schedule, another part of that is that our teachers have team time every day. They meet with their core team of teachers for one period a day. Oftentimes that's used for parent meetings or special ed meetings or planning, working on data, writing good news notes. But one day a week, we ask them to come out of that team and meet with us or our instructional coach. And we have planned a schedule for every Wednesday of the year. You can see that. Last year, we started doing some book studies. We did Culturized by Jimmy Casas, working on just kind of revitalizing our culture at Schrader. And then we started Teach Like a Champion last year, and then we're finishing it this year. Again, just more tools in our tool belt for working with students, instructional strategies it's nice to have in-house professional development. Other things that we do during Wonderment Wednesdays, we also do instructional rounds at least once a quarter, where teachers get to go visit other teachers' classroom and learn from them. And we can also pull data from that too. So when we were looking at our HRS certification, Cognia, that type of thing, we can have some quick data, like are teachers posting goals? What kind of strategies are they using in their classrooms? The other thing that our instructional coach does help us with is, besides Wonderment Wednesday, is that we ask all teachers to set goals. What you see there is the new art and science of teaching has those design areas, but all the elements that are listed there. And we've asked our teachers to focus on content, choose one of those elements as their own individual goal, and then we ask them to set a content goal also. Our newer teachers, we ask them to focus on those red highlighted areas, so either setting rubrics in the classroom, tracking student progress, celebrating success, or more of the rules and procedures and building relationships, which as a new teacher, they often are, that's the world that they're living in, is just setting up rules and procedures and getting to know students. So, and then Dave and I each split our certified staff, so we support and observe and evaluate about 30 people each of our certified staff. And our instructional coach, she meets with them to develop their goals and gives them some tips and tricks on how to write that, and they help input them into the eye observation system. Last year, Schrader was able to have a part-time literacy intervention person. Jessica Sundin has been working with our students. First started out by just focusing on our sixth graders, just to identify some students, screen them, and then also give them the extra boost, hopefully, so they can be much more successful in 7th and 8th grade. So you can see some of the data there that she started out looking at students who are below the 25th percentile on the STAR assessment. We give the STAR 4 times a year, once per quarter, just so we can see some of that trend data grow. She also uses the letter screener. When she meets with students, she uses the UFly curriculum. It's about 15 to 20 minutes per session. And then she also uses like the intervention plans in Panorama that she lists, that you can see that their growth is graphed out there also. But mainly working with our middle school students on fluency, does some work on spelling, and this is the other one, encoding, spelling, and reading fluency. So these charts that you see, that's our STAR reading scores. So it's just a yes or a no. So it's just shown if these students have shown any growth. And so our students right now have shown growth just on their STAR reading assessment. When she works with them on reading fluency, she explained this, that it's really difficult because as they get more and more content specific in middle school, the vocabulary is that much more difficult. And it's very hard to take out the vocabulary words to get them to read more fluently. And then they lose the part of the content. So like you can't teach science without that vocabulary. So that's why it's variable for the fluency scores, if they're improving or not. So they're reading more advanced words, but they're just not as fluent with it. And then she does do the encoding and spelling scores also, because we see that is a huge issue with our middle school students. Okay, the other thing that we're going to talk about is attendance. And I'm a member of the attendance task force here in the Grand Forks Public Schools. And so some of this data that you will see is is unique to Schrader or unique to maybe a couple schools in the district. As you can see here, there's our data, our attendance data, average daily attendance compared to the district in the state for the last 3 years. On the far right side, that is our attendance data as of December 1st. And so our goal is always to have 95% attendance or better. And we're not there yet. Some things that may be occurring, and might be unique to Schrader, is that you can see that we have a higher attendance rate on Fridays. And this gets worse as the year goes on. And we have students leaving for traveling hockey, traveling basketball, traveling volleyball, dance, cheer, vacations, everything. And so as we talked about on the task force, is that how can we involve some of these community groups to say attendance in school matters? I don't know how far we get with that. But, and then Wednesdays is hard to, we have a little dip in attendance on Wednesdays. We do have those early release days that we find some people, if they schedule an appointment, they just don't come back. They don't come into school at all on Wednesdays then. The high schools, I know you've heard about the high schools attendance plan. They have a little bit more teeth into it because they have credits and other things going on at the high school. We do not have that at the middle school. So we are developed a tiered plan, but basically what it is, it's working with families and students and educating them and building those relationships and explaining all of the things that needs to happen because you are in school or aren't in school. Our social worker, Heidi Nordine right now, has met with every 8th grader who is at risk with attendance right now and talks about what this would look like if you were in high school and how many days you're missing and how that affects your academics. So we have worked a lot with an early warning system. Started with our 6th grade, but now it's school-wide that even before school starts, getting to know families, explaining to them what we do as a school and why it's important to be there, and identifying a trusted adult or building those relationships so the students want to come. And something you'll hear a little bit more later on about is our involvement with clubs and activities and everything going on at Schrader is kind of a testament to why we have as good of attendance as we do, because we feel like those students are connected to our school.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Anderson. I was just going to talk a little bit about the extracurriculars and clubs that we offer at Schrader. Like Judy said, some of these activities are the things that students look forward to. So if you can see a wide range of not only clubs, but also some of the co-curricular activities and some of our academic competitions like math counts are in there. Some extensions of our classroom like chamber orchestra. Homework club is just what it is. It's an opportunity for kids to come after school and work with one of our paras that runs a homework club. Babysitting club is a students that are interested in becoming babysitters, they can and take the certification test. They learn on the information that they need to know through that. And our musical is wildly popular. I don't have numbers for these groups, but I can say, like, you're going to find out, because sources of strength, I'm going to let Blake and Michelle talk a little bit about that, because we currently have over 100 students in that activity alone. But I do have some numbers for the athletics, and we had a really great fall. Had over 180 7th and 8th grade students that participated in football, volleyball, and boys soccer. And if you think we have about 400 7th and 8th graders, so we're looking at almost roughly half that participated in a fall sport. And we've got a handful of students that take advantage of some of the high school sports that we don't offer at the middle school, like swimming, golf, tennis, and cross country. So here's a little bit of data. For just this year, and again, these are just 7th and 8th graders, because 6th graders participate in intramurals if they choose, but this is the beginning of interscholastic sports, if you will. And so you can see like the numbers. Volleyball is obviously popular. It's popular everywhere, and that is definitely a big one in the fall. We had 163 students participate. This is last year again. Winter, boys basketball was probably the high group there with 79, and then in the spring we do have boys track and girls track. That's the top 2 bars there, so add those together. That's a pretty good participation. Whew, I'll skip that one. We have 95 kids that played in track. There we go. So there you see some totals there on the bottom as well. And so even last year was probably a little lower than the previous years in terms of the numbers of kids that have participated. Now, when I showed you the staff slide, and that was quite a few ago, you'll notice we don't have a lot of extra people at Schrader. I mean, we don't have deans, we don't have coordinators, we're not a Title I school. It is really the office staff. And so there's a lot of things that Judy and I do that in our office, and our office team do as well too. But I can say that these sports run as well as they do because of Mrs. Anderson and the work that she does as our athletic director. And it is a huge job, because when there's that many kids participating, there's that many teams, there's that many coaches to hire, there's that many events to organize and coordinate. And so she does an awesome job, and that's part of the reason why we have that kind of participation, is the support that she shows our coaches and the students in that group. So wanted to talk a little bit about our parent involvement. That flyer on the right is our PTO's kind of end of the year thing they put together. It shows you a little bit of some of the ways they're involved. It's very active. There's a picture of our middle school dance from this fall, and some of, well, no, nobody in here was supervising, but we did have some middle school parents actually show up and help supervise, and they loved it. They thought it was great. You know, we run it from 6 to 8. I mean, it's a really early event in the night, but set up some dance lights. I happen to have those for some reason, and we use the gym sound system, and the kids have a great time. We have an excellent participation rate at our open house. We see a lot of traffic at our parent-teachers conferences as well. Sorry, I don't have those numbers. I do have them. If you want me to share them, though, I can get them to you. We have quarterly ACE Award assemblies where we recognize students for academic and character excellence as well as grit. And so the GRIT stands for, help me out, growth, resilience, integrity, and tenacity. Yeah. And so we have parents that come to that award assembly as well, where we have a speaker and we usually play a game at the end. So that's a great way to get the parents in our building. We have 5th grade transition meetings for parents. We call them parent coffees, and we run 3 different ones, and it's this team you see right here that basically explains to parents that have an incoming 6th grader what their child's going to experience and maybe what they're going to experience with a brand new middle school student. It's like, hang on to your hat. Things are going to change. Get ready. But we give them a lot of useful information, hopefully lower some anxiety. Just our athletics and music events, we give a lot of traffic at those as well. And those team meetings we talked about during the school day is a great opportunity to bring in parents that we need to visit with. So it might be for a 504, it might be for an IEP meeting, or it might just be able to be a way to connect with parents face to face. And so our teams take advantage of that when they need to. All right, up next are our counselors.
All right. Good evening, everyone. We're here as your Schrader counseling staff. We're going to talk a little bit about our goals that we have, how our Tier 1 lessons play into those goals, and then what our next steps are. And then we're going to shift about halfway through there just to talk about some of the highlights that we think that we have. And that's mostly the 8th grade, getting them ready for high school, our Sources of Strength program and club, and then our expansion to career education. But we're going to start with our program goals. The district has a program, a goal of Native American graduation rates, and we have a subset goal in our Schrader building about improving Native American test scores. So we wanted to come alongside that. So when we were making our goals, we were looking at the data. We focused on our panorama data on the Native American students. So by the end of the school year, For the Native American students that are reporting no strengths in the SEL category, we want to decrease that by 10% from 79% to 69%. And then we also looked at the Native American students that are reporting as critical in Panorama as far as academics go, and we want to reduce that by 10% from 42% to 32%. And all those kids right there, Mr. Nowatzki referenced that we got an average of 102 students. That is our sources of strength group. We could not figure out how to structure them for a photo, but those kids knew what to do. So they kind of run that group for us.
Okay, every quarter, Neubauer and I go into classrooms, so we see every student once a quarter.
Could I just have you slide right over to the mic for those who are checking in online? Thank you.
And we do lessons, and all of our lessons are franchised across the middle school in the district, so everyone in the district is getting the same lessons. So our 8th grade lesson, this is some data from our 8th grade lesson, and our first quarter lesson with them is how to help a friend. So we go in and we talk to them about warning signs of depression, suicide, how to recognize those in your friends, and then we give them resources as far as counseling, therapy, how to call and use the crisis lines, what you say when you call. We also tell them how to call dispatch if you need a safety check done or a wellness check on your friend, and we go over what to say and things like that. So in our lessons, we do a pre and post test, and we ask them questions because we want to gauge how well we're doing in the class with teaching the lesson and also what information is being gained. So on our pre and post test, we ask them what they would do if their friend said they wanted to die and told you not to tell. So in our pre-test, you'll see that 84.1% of our students said that they would break that promise and tell a trusted adult. And after the lesson, we had 95.4% of our students said that they would break that promise and tell a trusted adult. So that is an 11.3% increase.
All right, our 7th grade quarter 1 lesson is all about healthy relationships and how do you disagree respectfully. So in that lesson, we're focused on perspective taking. How do you handle conflict when it arises, whether that be with some friends or teachers or parents, and then we try to give them some skills on how to bring down that conflict, whether that be using I statements, focused on what you can control, and then active listening. So we try to give them those self-efficacy skills. For our pre-test on this one, we start with how important do they think it is to disagree respectfully. You can see that we had 63% as a 4, 31.8 as a 3, and then by the post-test, once we were done, we got almost all of them up to a 16.2 for a 3 and an 81.1 for a 4, 18% increase. The nice thing about these lessons is we can tie them into some of the different panorama data, like our self-efficacy, challenging feelings, emotional regulation. So we're trying to hit as many categories as possible when we go in for these lessons.
Our quarter 2 lesson for our 6th grade, we talk about grit and why grit is important and what it is, and how grit is one of the most important predictors for future success. So we talk to the students about that. We encourage them to make mistakes. Middle school is about making mistakes, but rebounding from that once you've done it. So our pre-test asked them, what is grit? And we had, in our post-test, asked the same question. And so we had a 24.2% increase from the pre-test to the post-test, and they're being able to accurately define grit. And that is a picture of our grit challenge that we do during that lesson. And so they have a minute to stack as many metal pieces as they can up with chopsticks. And so, as you can imagine, that's pretty hard to do. We do show them how to use the chopsticks when we're in there too. And but anyway, this is a picture from our quarter 2 lesson this year and how our students were doing that.
It's fun for us too, because we get to stress them out while they're doing it. All right, so our next step, so that's just our Tier 1 classroom lessons. Our next step as we work towards our goals is we're going to be doing individual counseling sessions with our Native American population. We've already started with a third of them just to get some of that individualized, what do you need specifically, so that we can try to help them. So we will continue that as the school year moves on. We're also going to be looking at small group planning, so we want to make sure we're being intentional when we're forming groups. So we're looking at different data pieces, whether that be academics in Power School, Panorama, log entries, whatever, and we want to try to figure out how can we utilize groups to try to further us towards that goal. So that's kind of where we're going with our program goals, and now we're going to shift gears a little bit about some of the highlights that we have as a program.
So with our eighth grade students, Neubauer and I spend a lot of time with them, getting them ready for high school. We recognize that it is somewhat early for them to know some of these things, but hearing it over and over is a good thing. So we have a 4-day unit with our eighth graders. And we start kind of our high school planning with them in November. We send out an interactive slide deck to all the families in the district. So we tell them about what courses are offered in high school. We talk about GPA calculation, how middle school and high school are different, so that they know what the expectations are. We spend a lot of time talking about the differences in expectations. Our 4-day unit starts in January, so we work in collaboration with our middle school career counselor. And so we go in, we talk about the course offerings again, we talk about what a credit is, why it's important to be at school, and we register them for those classes and give them their Power School registration and all that. And then our career counselor comes in and she does 4-year planning with them so they can see the sequence of the classes they would have. And she also does a career assessment with them so that they can line up their classes that they're choosing in high school with what their interests are. And then at the end of the year, in quarter 4, we meet with our 8th graders again, and we talk to them about how college admissions works and how scholarships work and financial aid. We do some mock scholarship committee selection. We let them choose who would get the scholarships based on certain criteria that we give them, and we have a lot of fun with that. Some of the kids are pretty good critics, I will say, and they're picky. So we do teach them those things.
All right, as Mr. Nowatzki said, we also run the Sources Strength Club. If you're unfamiliar with what Sources Strength is, it is a suicide prevention program that focuses on changing the narrative from more sad, depressing when you're talking about that stigma of mental health to a message of hope, health, and strength. So it starts as a counseling curriculum in elementary schools, and then when they get to middle school and high school, it turns into a club where we're using the 8 pieces of the wheel, and that's the 8 things that people fall back on when they're going through tough times. So we run this program. We pulled some enrollment data from the 2020-21 school year up until now. You can see that we started with 12 students, and now we have 102 middle schoolers that come with us on this journey with the message. He's laughing because I'm going bald because of it. But we are... Well, the whole point is we wanted to expand this club because part of Sources is getting people connected to help. So we wanted to make sure that we tried to reach as many students as possible from as many different groups as there were. So we opened up our enrollment and marketed a little bit different. We run campaigns, and it's very peer driven. So the students lead it, and we have so many students now where we even have a leadership group out of those students where they're starting to take over making an agenda. What campaigns are we running? Running through note-taking themselves and making sure that we are doing what we need to do as well. And then Ruse will talk a little bit about the campaigns that we run.
So some of the community projects that we have done last year and this year, we have done a food drive for North End Rescue Mission, and we've collected about 4,000 items each year for that. We've assisted 1,200 families in Grand Forks area through our food drive. We're very proud of that. We also do holiday cards. Our students write cards to the local nursing homes. We did about 500 cards last year, and we're on pace to do that many this year. I drug Neubauer out to the football game one night, and we gave out 1,000 hot dogs to all the students. We fed the players on both teams. We had a really good time with that, or I did. And so we also do a lot of building projects. So we've handed out hot chocolate to our students right before the holidays. We recognize that's a really stressful time, so we try to get out and about in the building. We have run the photo booths for the sunrise dance that we have every year. Our students for Sources of Strength made a video about what helps them that we showed to our students. We also help the Fine Arts Department do their coffee shop, and so that's a lot of fun too. And then we do a door decorating competition, and our Sources of Strength students, if you have ever been over to Schrader for the 5th grade visit, if your student has come over for that, our Sources of Strength are the ones that lead the tours and do a lot of that organization and planning, and so we are very proud to showcase them. Still me. Okay. All right. We do a couple of career experiences for our eighth grade students, and for the second year this year, we did the T4 conference out at Northland, and our students, there were about 1,000 students that attended around the area. All of Grand Forks Public Schools 8th graders went to this, and so they go over to Northland and they get to do some hands-on career experiences. So we had a welding simulator, we had the fire department there, we had all the health sciences. They were doing intubation of the mannequins, taking blood, things like that. So you'll see some pictures from that and some data from that in just a minute. And then also we have an 8th grade career experience. So Neubauer and I give the students a career key assessment, and we take that data on what careers they're interested in, and we contact local businesses, and we send them out in April for a 2-hour block in groups of about 10 to 12, and so they get to go into that business and do some more hands-on things, and it's a way to showcase our local businesses as well as get our students in there and see what a day in the life of would be, and we have some data to show you on that too.
All right, so this first one's for the T4 event that comes in. So of 563 students that took the survey, it's a scale of 1 to 4. 3 and 4 is positive, 1 and 2 is negative. The sessions that I attended were engaging and interesting. We had 81% rank it a 3 or 4. If you've ever had a conversation with a middle schooler about how their day went, getting engaging and interesting is amazing. You can see how in this session it was for the firefighting team there, and they're using the Jaws of Life to play a game of Jenga as they go through the different experiences as a firefighter. The hands-on activities helped me to understand the career better. We had 87% of students rank that as a positive results, and we have our other friend getting dressed up in the gear, getting ready to go with the firefighter team as well. I learned about a career today that I didn't know existed. 61% answered that positively, which is great because the whole point of this is try to get them to see some new things, open up some new paths so that when they get to high school, they can explore some of the CTE programs that they have and get a better idea for life after K-12. So you'll see someone working on the mannequin in our orthopedic surgery. I would consider one of the careers that I learned about today as a future career. 57% answered positively, which is great because that gets them thinking along the lines that we want them to. This young man was doing the flight simulator, so you got to see him working the buttons before, getting ready for takeoff, flying the plane, and sometimes landing the plane. I would recommend this career experience to other 8th grade students. 85% answered that positively, which is great. Since this has only been going on, this was the second year doing it, so that's a positive response there. We just had some more mannequin work there. All right, for the one that Ruse and I run, did you learn new information by participating in this experience? We had an 84%, which is great because we want it to be educational as well. So you can see our friend here posing with the weather balloon from UND Atmospheric Sciences. They had a good time there. Do you think that the careers you learned about today would be a good fit for you? We had 67.5% answer positively. That's down. We take a group of students to the courthouse. They got to sit in on a trial, talk with the sheriff's department, so they got to do a lot of really cool things down there. And then the last one, should Neubauer and Ruse plan this activity again next year for Schrader students? We got a 94.9% yes, which was good for us. So we are currently in the process of running that lesson so that we get our results, and then we will be cold calling businesses to hopefully partner with us. So that's a little bit of what we got for the counseling department, and we'll turn it back over to Mr. Nowatzki and Mrs. Anderson.
Thank you, Blake and Michelle. Since they're not going to say it, I'm going to tell you these two are rock stars in our counseling department in the district. They are leaders. And just a couple of examples of that. That T4 event didn't exist until they went out and found it, which meant a field trip down to attend one at Valley City. And they came back and they said, we should get this in Grand Forks. And so they worked with Eric Ripley and his crew to bring that to Northland, and it's been a great event since. I can't tell you how much I appreciate being a principal saying, hey, I wonder if we could get our kids out into the businesses and maybe they could do a field trip like that. And I throw out an idea like that and they're like, hey, let us work on that. And then they created that event that they talked about there, which has been incredible. So it's just a proof that they're involved too. And so I just want to, they're not going to say these things, so I have to, like Blake is a tri-chair, which is a leadership position in our counseling department. And Michelle also coaches robotics. So in addition to all those things they're doing, there's still more on top of that. Okay, so just a little bit about how our students feel about school. This slide and the next 4, and we're almost done. So if you're looking at the, you know, if I time this right, you don't have any time for questions, so that'll work out great. Panorama data is the same. These are the same questions asked district-wide. These are our students in this last fall, and so you can see some of the results there and maybe how they've changed since the last survey, which would have been the spring, right, of 2025, and then compared to the district. We visit with our staff about this data because it is it's useful. It's got some trend data there at the top, like you can drill down and take a look and see how maybe this fall compared to the previous fall or compared to last spring. But more importantly, you can go into the questions. And so there's about 5 or 6 questions for each of those indicators. And so this one here is probably a high one, right? How many of your teachers are respectful towards you? And you can see all of the teachers, most of the teachers, about half my teachers, and how the percentages are there. Pretty positive. And so the other survey that the kids take is a well-being survey, and this is the results from that as well. So same thing, we go into teams and we take a look at some of these items, and we kind of let the teachers point and tell us where we want to go. Judy and I have admin access, so we can drill down for them and take a look at that and maybe answer some of the questions that they have about it. So here's a low point, right? Self-efficacy is something that has been low for us, and it's probably relatively low across the district as well. But, you know, kids, especially at the middle school, don't always feel confident about what they're doing. So I always think it's kind of nice to drill down and to say this question that we have here, how confident are you that you can do the hardest work that is assigned to your classes. And if you drill down and take a look at even students that are somewhat confident, and I'm going to echo what Mr. Neubauer said, is that sometimes that's as good as you're going to get when you ask a middle school student, like, do you feel confident? Yeah, I think so. You know, like, I think this is good to go. You know, you have almost 80% that are somewhat or better in terms of their confidence. And so some of those items they're hard for kids to answer. I mean, one says, will you remember next year what you learned about this year? And I'm like, I know how I would answer that question if I was asked that, you know. So it's those kinds of items that when you take a look at it and consider some of the other pieces to it, they make sense. And yet we talk about how do we make improvements. So some free response questions. Thinking about everything in your life now, what feels the hardest for you? Thinking about everything in your life now, what makes you feel the happiest? And what can teachers or other adults at schools do to better support you? And so we sift through those answers as well too. And sometimes even the mental health coordinator will reach out and say, hey, you've got some pretty concerning responses here, and wanted you to know about that. So we follow up on that with both students and families. All right. That's a little bit about Schrader. Do you have any questions?
Questions from board members for this team from Schrader Middle School? I have just one, just out of curiosity. When you see, you know, some of this reporting out, the Blue Ribbon School comes to mind, the strides you're making in many, many areas. What's the process look like for sharing this out to our other middle school campuses, or is it such a unique, every place is its own unique fishbowl such that it may not transfer someplace else? What does that look like? What does the huddle look like that says, you know, can this be replicated, or can any of this be duplicated? Just a thought.
No, that's a great question. I think, you know, on a more boots to ground level, those discussions take place in our PLC meetings, our early release meetings at content areas, because, you know, I'm a firm believer that every moment, every minute, every hour that we're spending at the school is weighing into something, right? And so I think our staff does an amazing job of just being present and handling things as they will, as opposed to looking forward to the future. So if you're talking about the kinds of things that happen in the classroom, I mean, that is where the magic happens. I mean, one of our classroom teachers is here tonight, Brady Olson. If you've ever been to a Schrader Band concert, you see the product. I mean, he's got a really unique class in the sense that he has to publicly show if his product, and so there's no question what's going on in Brady's band program. But, for others, I think those discussions take place in the PLC meetings, and those opportunities I think teachers really cherish when they get to have those conversations about their craft and the things that are going well.
Anything else? Do you have something, Dr. Glatch?
Yeah, hopefully I'm not stealing Dr. Brenner's thunder, but you heard Principal Nowatzki sing the praises and the extra duties that all the folks behind him does. I want to do the same for him. It probably goes without saying that he is the model for that school. And that blue ribbon process was no small undertaking. It was basically a dissertation, and I'm pretty sure Dave lifted 99% of that himself alongside Jen Becker.
Jen Becker, yes. I'm going to give a shout out to our instructional coach.
So I just want to send him the same accolades.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there other questions from board members? Ms. Flynn?
I am very proud to be a Schrader Middle School parent. I asked my middle schooler what she would change about middle school, if anything. And she decided that she thinks that they should all have partitions between the middle school boys and girls. So that was, she must like everything else, but that was her answer. But in all seriousness, I have the privilege of walking the halls sometimes, and it's just a wonderful school. You guys do an amazing job with what you have, and so it's fun to see in person. I always ask this question to the Celebrating Success folks, and I know you've alluded to some things, but perfect world, if you had the funds, what's the top priority for you at your school that you would want to bring in or implement?
At the middle school level, we pride ourselves on being like the exploratory model. You may have heard that. Our elective classes and things like that are opportunities where, we have it set up where students can try a lot of different things before they get to the high school and kind of get a flavor for maybe facts or tech and engineering or music and orchestra. I just don't think you can do that enough. And so if to add more classes, which means more staff and probably more classrooms, just to be able to broaden the experience at middle school would always be something that I think would be, better. I think we do a great job at it, and our teachers do an awesome job considering, the class loads they have. But just to broaden that experience and let students explore more options.
Sorry, I raised my hand to Ms. Flynn's comment. I thought she was going to say that she's an alum of that school. I always say about 100 years ago, I was a Schrader Raider, so I was trying to claim my part in that as well, but it wasn't quite where you were taking the comment. Others? Dr. Hodak?
Congratulations, good job. One of the points that really resonated with me today was not only the fact that you talked about the student data and what the students are doing and how the teachers are supporting them, but the fact that you brought up that you have an instructional coach that works with teachers as individuals to develop those professional goals and instructional goals, and then that both you and Judy work to assess those goals and supervise those goals. That's true educational leadership for the development of teachers, so congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Other questions from board members? Their final thoughts? Did you have something, Dr. Brenner?
Just a concluding comment. We all went through the Be Legendary training here a couple of years ago, 2-3 years ago. The focus really was on academic progress, particularly in the two areas of math and literacy. And I hope everybody sees and understands that while that grabs the headlines, there's more to school than test scores. And I think every one of our presentations that we've had under Be Legendary, Celebrating Success, offers the uniqueness, the unique culture of every one of our campuses. And it brings something for every one of our students who comes to school every single day. So just wanted to point that out that so when you ask the question about what's transferable, some things are transferable. There's some structural things that could be transferred, but it's the people, it's the culture that really brings your building alive and like our other buildings. So I just want to thank the team for being here tonight and for presenting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Move on to item 4, our public comment period. I don't have any comment cards turned in. Is there anyone here tonight who wishes to speak during our public comment period? Moving on then to item 5, these are superintendent's recommendations for discussion. 5A, Government Affairs Committee Report. Mr. Anderson, did you chair that? You want to lead this off? Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, the Government Affairs Committee met last Thursday, December 4th, and went through with guests of our high school principals, and then Mr. Baumbach received presentations regarding some recent legislation and effects of that legislation on their locations, the high schools, and then gave feedback to our legislator, Senator Meyer, who was able to attend that meeting. I would turn it over to Dr. Brenner and Brandon to provide a little bit more context as to what we reviewed.
So Senator Meyer was able to engage with us around conversations around our new attendance policy, specifically what our high school folks are doing at Central and Red River High School, and some of the challenges when some legislation was introduced a couple of biennia ago that's actually put some restrictions on our schools. So in terms of having some teeth, and if we need to make a referral to county social services, there's some limitations to that. So he was happy to hear how he could advocate even during the interim session on some committee work, how he could help support what we need at the state level. Dr. Harrison and Mr. Strandell also highlighted the bell-to-bell schedule and how that was going, which, we had that process in place. So actually, by all accounts, that's going quite well. Some of the behavioral challenges that we can have at all levels, sometimes it takes more than just the school. Sometimes it takes more than just the parent to remedy some of those behaviors or those gap skills that students haven't learned. And it's important that the community is really aware of that. And then Mr. Baumbach talked about the interim committee that he's on, looking at special education funding and seeing if we can see that metric grow a little bit more attached to our foundation aid payment, because when we see the cost per student from general ed to special ed, what we receive from the state, what we receive from the feds, there's a pretty large gap there that's borne on the taxpayers of Grand Forks. So we had a really nice conversation, and Senator Meyer was very receptive to helping us out and leveraging and moving things forward for us.
As is the case often when we have reports from committee, I'll turn it over next to any others who were present at that meeting. So that would be Mr. Clevin, Dr. Glatch, Mr. Baumbach, if there's anything else that you want to lift up from that time together, and then we'll open it up to other board members for questions. Mr. Clevin, do you have something?
First, apologize because I wasn't on time, so I didn't follow our norms. I came into the discussion a little bit late, but the minutes are an accurate assessment of that meeting.
Anything from either of you, Dr. Glatch or Mr. Baumbach, about the time you shared together in conversation? Okay, I'll open it up to board members for questions for the committee. Anything that you have, Dr. Lund?
Just a quick question. I know we're probably going to have a special session early next year, and I realize it deals with rural health, the $500 million grant. Do you know if any of that would pertain to school nurses or anything school-related? Or do we have any idea of what that might pertain, that special session?
Yeah, President Berger, Board Member Lund, I'm not aware of it if that's the subject matter that's going to be taken up, but we did just start to get the early inklings that in later January is when they'll pull together that session.
Other questions from board members for the committee? Okay, this again is under discussion only, so no action is required. We'll move on to 5B, the annual report for 2024-2025. Mr. Bakke.
Yeah, President Berger, members of the board, it is my honor today to present to you the 2024-25 annual report. As you'll see in the audience, we have a number of guests who are going to be presenting here today. Just to kind of give the lineup for everyone in the audience as far as so you're aware of where you're at. I will start off with some demographic data with enrollment and free and reduced lunch counts, and then I'll hand it over to Chief Academic Officer Barch, who will go through some of our academic data. Then new this year, we're going to be highlighting each one program each year as far as just to highlight some of the work being done within our schools. And today we have a number of guests who will be talking about our AVID program led by Katie Arthur, our district coordinator, district AVID coordinator. And then from there, we'll hand it off to Dr. Dietrich for our special ed count. Ivona Todorovich, our ML coordinator, will also talk on our ML counts, and then I'll finish it up with some HR numbers in Griffin Gillespie's absence, our HR director. So just so everyone's kind of aware of where we're going with this. So to start off, I'll start off with enrollment report. As you anticipate, we had a lot of conversation last year relative to our enrollment count and the spike that we saw. Again, an increase of 220 students, roughly about from 23-24 to 24-25 school year, and we've seen the opposite of that this year. And so nothing that the board hasn't seen before or isn't aware of to this point, but we saw a nice increase last year. We're seeing the tail end of that on the opposite way here. National School Lunch Program, as you'll see, the 24-25 school year, we saw an increase, 1.7% increase across our district as far as the free and reduced lunch count. Just a reminder on the 2019-20 school year and all the way to the 2021-22 school year, you'll see a consistent trend there. Again, that's during those COVID years in which we were able to maintain 1 year for our free and reduced lunch count. And so that's an anomaly you'll see there. But we're starting to see that trend go back up from 24-25 school year. Again, the numbers that we see right now are also trending in that direction for next school or for this school year as well too. So we're hopeful that we'll see that trend continue to increase from a funding standpoint for allocations in our federal dollars. Any questions on that before I hand it off to Chief Academic Officer Barch?
Looks like we can move ahead.
Mr. President, members of the board, thank you for having me this evening. We'll talk a little bit about achievement data before I go to the next slide. Just know that there are about 852 asterisks in this slide deck that I'll share with you because we've had so many changes. So I'll try to talk through them, but if at any time you have a question, just please let me know. So the first thing is we love acronyms in education. So we use NDSA, which was the North Dakota State Assessment, but this past academic year, the state of North Dakota transitioned to what they're calling NDA+, which is the North Dakota Academic Progression of Learning and Understanding for Students. So I just want to make a note that everything prior to the 25 data that I'll show you was the old NDSA test, and now it's the NDA Plus assessment. 2 different vendors had produced those assessments. If you see a number blacked out, that just means the cohort size was too small to share. It's under 10. And if we share that data publicly, it could potentially be identifiable, so we don't share that data. I'm not sharing STAR-CAT data. That's the computer adaptive test. That's our progress monitoring that we've talked about, because currently it's not predictive of NDA+. We can share that at any time if you would like to know, but tonight we're not going to share that. And the reason why is Star Renaissance is the vendor for that. And what they do is they do a correlation data study at the end of each NDSA cycle. So that's the old assessment. And they have not yet been released data from NDA Plus to correlate if their test is a match or not. So those scores aren't being shared yet tonight, but they are available. And then NDA Plus, NDDPI did release the data in late October, early November. They did establish cut scores with teacher groups this past summer, but what they're telling us is there's a possibility that those cut scores may shift depending on some correlation data studies that they do. It doesn't mean that the data is invalid. It doesn't mean that it doesn't tell us a story, but there are just a whole lot of asterisks where we sit right now as we look at data. Okay, so ACT, which has nothing to do with NDA plus or NDSA, another acronym, ACT. What this is showing is our achievement over time over the last 3 academic years. I did it in correlation to the state, so you can compare the green to the green. And then it's broken out for our 3 campuses as well. Grand Forks Public Schools, an average ACT score this past academic year of 19.6. I think what's really important to note here as you move forward, anything after the 23-24 data, you need to understand in relationship to what. So in Grand Forks, last year, we gave the assessment to all of our juniors. You could opt out, but the majority of our juniors took the ACT, which is not the same story of other schools within the state, because it's no longer approved for the accountability measure. So previously, our juniors could take ACT instead of the North Dakota State Assessment, and that counted for accountability. So I think it's just really important to know that as you do comparisons, as those data are released, I believe this Friday on ND Insights, you need to know like who took the test and who's in that cohort. And then this slide shows our student groups and how their achievement, and it's based on the state, our whole district, and then Central and Red River. The community demographics are too small to share. Okay, and then the only other subgroup outside of ethnicity that we have is male and female, because this information comes directly from ACT. Okay, now moving on to our English language arts goal. Always want to be forward facing with our academic goal. So we're hoping by the 2028 school year that 56% of our students are proficient or advanced proficient. So NDA plus, this is the new assessment. So everything, this is our first set of asterisks here. Everything prior to last year has an asterisk because it's the old assessment compared to the new. What we saw with the new assessment, which the vendor of this assessment is Pearson, is what I would call a statistically significant reduction in achievement across the board from everyone within the state. So you'll see a significant reduction from state, but also within Grand Forks Public Schools. If you want to know, I have 1,042 questions about that, because the variables, we always wonder about the variables. We wonder about the reliability of the assessment. We wonder about our students' preparedness to take the assessment. We wonder about cut scores. Dr. Hodak, I'm trying not to make eye contact with you because I know this is your world too, that whenever you give a new assessment, part of it is norming it and making sure that your questions actually measure what you want to measure, and there just isn't data yet to say that that's true. So these are the scores. So this is reading then broken down by student groups. You can see asterisks, of course, in 22, 23, and 23, 24.
I just have one clarifying question.
Please.
Where
Yeah.
you just were, I think this is slide, I can't tell if it's 13 or 14 in our packet. Yes. Is it true that those should also have the headers of state and then Grand Forks Public Schools the same?
Correct.
The same way? Okay, thank you.
Yep, correct. Thank you. All right, another set of student groups to compare data by. Okay, moving on to math. Our goal, Be Legendary goal, again, is to improve from 41 to 49% proficient or advanced by the 28th school year. When we look at math, not quite as big of a decline across the state, and we even saw some increases. I will say the asterisk here isn't on your slide deck, but we have a lot of wondering around high school math achievement. The state achievement rate for mathematics at the high school level is below 25%, and ours was at 26%. The reason why we have more questions there is it doesn't correlate with our ACT math data. So if the test was measuring what we want it to measure, which is the North Dakota State Standards, it should be in line with achievement with the ACT, and right now it's not. So, student groups for mathematics. Last set of student groups for mathematics. And then we have a Native American on-time graduation rate goal. We were going to improve from 72% to 80%. And remember, we had met our first goal, so this was our goal where I had already achieved it and bumped it up. Okay, so the asterisks on this slide. We noted in about, Catherine, I'm looking at you, late July, early August, that something seemed off when we looked at our graduation rates. It first started when I was looking at the graduation rates for Grand Forks Central. And what we noted was that it just didn't even, the math wasn't mathing, is probably the easiest way to say it. And so when we looked, we worked closely with the state, and what we discovered is there's two reporting systems. So Power School is our student information system. That's where we keep all of our data. And then that rolls over into the North Dakota STARS platform. And what we noted is that it wasn't talking to each other accurately. So we called the state and said, this is what we're noticing. And they said, oh yeah, that happens a lot. And we were like, okay. And so they had named several other school districts that this has happened to in the past. And so we petitioned to have our scores kind of unfrozen or unlocked and then resubmit the correct data. Our appeal was denied. They just said that it happens a lot and we're aware of the issue, and part of it is on us too. We need to do a better job of making sure the Power School data goes into STARS correctly. So what you see here is, if we just look at the first line, why you see an asterisk is the 74% grad rate is what you'll see on ND Insights. But when we did the manual calculation, the actual rate is 85%. So that's when you see the parentheses, those are the actual rates. The numbers with the asterisks, those are what's going to be displayed on ND Insights. Questions or wonderings there?
Dr. Glatch?
So again, I want to reiterate, if we get criticized by our constituents for having a low graduation rate because they got that information off the state website, their information is incorrect there. This is the accurate information. So you, as board members, may receive criticisms or questions about that, about how we digressed. We did not. So thank you, Amy, for explaining that.
Looks like Dr. Hodak, and then I'll come to Mr. Palmsey.
Just a question, do we have any district leaders that attend the Native American Conference in July that's put on by DPI? And if so, was this discussed? Because this has been a long-standing issue, and I would urge us to make sure that someone attends this summer and brings this up again and says, what is happening? Because this is not only happening in our school, some of the reservation schools have had the same issue.
Mr. Bakke?
Yes, thank you. I'll respond to that. So I have attended in the past, not here in Grand Forks Public Schools, but in a previous district. We have also had our Native American liaison, Chad Ward, attend as well too. So we have had representation from time to time. Not this past summer though.
Mr. Palmasino?
Yeah, have you heard from the new, maybe administration, new superintendent? Is he working on correcting some of these issues of misinformation being sent around? I know he's going to attend all schools, and maybe when he does come to our district, we can have our crew visit with him and see, you know, this is false information going out to the general public.
Yeah, so the conversation has been that when Infinite Campus rolls out, which is the new state platform, or SIS, the Student Information System, that they won't need to talk to each other anymore, like Power Schools has to talk to STARS right now. It'll all be housed within Infinite Campus. Sorry, I'm shaking, I'm so cold.
Do you have a timeline on that, just for clarification? That rollout?
The integrations for IC, or Infinite Campus, starts this summer. The work has already been started.
Other questions at this point, since we're at a natural pause? Dr. Lund?
Amy, I just have more of a global data question.
Sure.
You know, going from NDSA and then plus and all that. It's like changing a three-point line and moving it back 4 feet, or changing the goalpost and moving it up to the 20-yard line. How long will it take till we have what we can say reliable, accurate information on what's actually happening to the 7,000 plus kids in our school, whether it be graduation rates or all that? Because to me, it looks like a mess, and maybe that's my medical background with when they change things there too. But how long do we think? And then will they change the test at that point to something else?
Those are questions that I cannot answer for the most part because, first of all, Pearson is the vendor that is responsible for developing the questions. I think it's very much a work in progress from what I've heard. Things that are concerning to me are like the interim and the summative pull from the same question pool, which I don't have a problem with that, except if you take the interim more than 3 times and then the summative, there's a chance that there's a redundancy in questions. And I defer to Dr. Hodak on reliability. That would decrease reliability of an assessment. So until they work out some of those things, I think it still does tell a story, though, because the question should be aligned to the North Dakota state standards. But when we see big gaps like we do in high school math, that's when you question the reliability of the metric. I have less of those concerns globally in math and ELA outside of high school. But you just have to wonder, the norming process is unique too, to have, and I'm not trying to cast doubt or throw shade here, but when you have teachers come together to do your cut scores, I wonder, typically there's a more heavily research based on that process, rather than asking Amy Birch what she thinks the cut score should be based on the student data and results.
Just one more, Dr. Lund.
Just a quick follow, just a comment. I don't think we should sit back and just accept all this. I think everybody in this room and everywhere, including back there and us, it's so critical to have it valid and accurate, because we're going to make big decisions about things. I think we need to be loud and clear that this needs to be fixed, not just for Grand Forks, but for every school district in the state. So I think we should be advocating every chance we get to say we need to do this correctly.
We've done that too through the appeal process. Part of it is when they release data, they host webinars, and so we respectfully push back on some of the decisions that have been made. We also want to be a thought partner and invited to the table, so we try to do all of those things with professional discourse and do. But you're exactly right. There's a lot on the line when it comes to our funding and perception of the public and how effective we are in what we do. So.
Other questions? Mr. Clevin?
Thank you. So did I hear that right, that not all Grand Forks students take the ACT anymore, correct?
So last year what we did is we had all of our juniors kind of pre-registered and they could opt out. This year what we did is we said, here is the opportunity, we will host it, because really we are the only one hosting the ACT opportunity in Grand Forks. But this time we charged students to take the assessment. We did have 2 alternatives. One, if you qualify for free and reduced lunch, then your fee was reduced by half. We also had waivers available for a total payment if financials were a barrier.
So what do you think will happen with that, with the composite score? Do you think that'll shift now because fewer students are taking it?
Typically what you would see is if it's an opt-in, you would expect your scores to go up because you have students who tend to be more 4-year university or 2-year university bound. When you have everyone take it, if that's not where you see yourself, there's a number of variables to consider. 1 is your buy-in on the assessment there, or 2, if it's not your path, you might not be shining light on your strengths either.
Thank you.
Other questions? All right, let's
Okay.
move on.
I will turn it over to the fabulous Katie Arthur to talk about AVID.
Hello, thank you. I must apologize. I woke up this morning without a voice and it since has come back just a little bit. But this version that I'm about to present today might be a little more shorter than planned to try to save my voice. It's horrible timing, as I'll share later on in the presentation. So thank you. I'm Katie Arthur. I'm the AVID District Coordinator. We're going to ground ourselves in the AVID mission first. AVID mission is to close the opportunity gap by preparing all students for college and career readiness and success in a global society. So you see that all students is highlighted there, and it's highlighted for a reason, because college and career readiness must be an opportunity, not a privilege. All students reflect our belief that every learner can grow, achieve, and thrive when given the right tools and support. So there's a lot of alignment that happens when we think about Grand Forks Public Schools district's mission and vision and how it aligns with AVID. Empowering every student's unique strengths. So AVID has this unique way of pulling potential from students and educators. Sometimes it's unlearned potential. We don't know that we have that potential, and AVID has a way of doing that. Growing together through collaboration. What that means is that AVID's fundamental foundation is all about collaboration. We know that growth happens best when students, educators, families come together in partnership, and that's one of the fundamental values of AVID. Preparing the students for college and career readiness or meaningful contribution. Had some early conversations with our new state superintendent and is looking to add aspects of AVID into the North Dakota Choice Ready dashboard or the framework. So those are proposals that our partners in West Fargo and Bismarck and ourselves are working to add and putting proposals together. I will add that AVID is incorporated into our strategic plan. It's really not an extra, it's a strategic accelerator. It helps us enhance rather than add to our work. You'll see here are our 5 AVID schools. We have 3 elementary schools, 1 middle school, and 1 high school. And you see our lovely site coordinators. This group has been instrumental in, they've been instrumental leaders that lead and support school-wide implementation. They coach, mentor, and grow teacher capacity. At the secondary level, they manage the AVID elective and our AVID scholars. They are the driving force behind whether AVID is simply present in a building or transformational. I would say these AVID site coordinators have been instrumental leaders and have put in a ton of work in helping all of our AVID schools be transformational. Beside me, I have one of our AVID site coordinators, Lisa Vocek, and she's going to take over a little bit.
All right. When she texted this morning and said she didn't have a voice, I thought she was joking. So here we are. Katie is wonderful, and she's led with just such a vision, but also celebrating the people behind the scenes. AVID is nothing new. It's been around for a long time. It's in many different states, many different countries. And we had the privilege to start this journey about 5 years ago. So it's really about leveling the playing field for kids, providing them opportunities and breaking down barriers. Do you want me to keep going? All right. So this is our framework, the AVID College and Career Readiness Framework. We do all of our work as a site team within this framework. So grounded in the background there, you see the 4 elements, the 4 domains of instruction, systems, leadership, and culture, the things that exist at every campus. But what makes AVID different is we recognize that students need rigorous academic preparedness, opportunity knowledge, and student agency. And in order for that to happen, we have to have some key moves by our educators. And those are on that bottom part of that triangle, insisting on rigor, breaking down barriers, aligning the work, and advocating for students. Something we really pride ourselves on at our AVID campuses is our high levels of relational capacity. And what that means is we understand that in order for students to do the heavy lift that's acknowledged in the top of that triangle, we need to come alongside and build some solid relationships with them, grounded in trust. Really our own collective agency as educators to build their efficacy and agency as students. So that's where our SEL comes in and a lot of different elements of our instruction. You ready?
I think so.
Okay.
So this is a slide that just talks through about how the different parts of Avid Elementary and Avid Secondary are school-wide. What that means is that it's not a curriculum, it's how, like, helps with those strategies on how to teach. So for example, we have, if a site is working on focused note-taking, then all students would get the benefits of learning how focused note-taking happens. Or our elementary schools, we're working with what collaboration strategies help our new Wit and Wisdom curriculum. And so they implemented those strategies that all students school-wide would have access to. Part of Avid is Avid Excel, and that's not something we are currently implementing here in Grand Forks Public Schools. I will say that we had our ELD curriculum summer bridge with our ML students this summer, and that curriculum was used, and I went and observed it, and it was fabulous. It was very rigorous. We have our ML population of students working on Socratic seminars on how to have academic language or conversations on the importance of education in the United States, and it was incredible to witness. I will say, we also have another part at the secondary level, and that's the Avid elective class, and I think that's back to you.
So both at Valley Middle School and Central, we have the Avid elective class. This year we launched it in 6th grade. Every 6th grader gets to participate for about a quarter's worth of instruction. We have it fully implemented in 7th and 8th, and then we have it in 9th, 10th, and 11th this year at Central as well. It's a curriculum, so we follow it's up there on the screen for you, so it's pretty routine. Mondays and Wednesdays, our Avid elective students are really building skills that prepare them for college and future readiness. Grounded in Wicker, which Katie's going to talk about in just a minute here, but developing those skills that we know are important for post-secondary success. Tuesdays and Thursdays, they do something called tutorials, which are collaborative study groups. And once they're up and running and we've set those norms and really established some key players in that, it's a really powerful way for kids to really huddle around their points of confusion and advocate for their own learning and ask good questions of each other. We do have a partnership with TRIO, which Katie will talk about. They've provided us with some tutors that have come in and helped facilitate these groups this year as well, which has been huge. And then Fridays, it really could be anything, but it's all grounded still in the work of this elective class and building capacity for these kids and helping them exercise their voice and their agency. We have 2 students here that want to talk to you. So we have Lacey and Layla that would like to share a little. Who's coming first? Layla's coming first. So.
Hi, I'm Layla Baki. I've been an Avid student since 8th grade, and we are the first class in Central. Before I became an Avid student, I frequently found myself extremely nervous to go to class because I felt like I was always behind than everybody else, and I didn't understand to the extent everybody else did. I never asked questions because I was so nervous and I didn't want to be seen as dumb in front of my classmates. School always seemed to be like a chore for me, and I never wanted to go. And if I had an excuse, I would use it. I didn't really like going to school, and until I reached Avid, I didn't see it as an opportunity to expand my knowledge. I just saw it as something I had to do. Avid has helped me approach different difficult subjects without thinking that I can't do it. Instead, now I'm able to break it down into easier steps that help me really figure out and help retain the knowledge for me to use in different classes. I've been able to take better notes in my classes that help me with my test taking and really being able to put it forward in outside of school towards work and just my everyday. Avid has helped me to feel more confident doing my schoolwork and also asking questions. Instead of dreading school, I now look forward to it, and I come to school prepared and feel as though I'm able to engage with my class when necessary. My teacher, Miss Lord, has supported me throughout my entire high school career. Last year, she was the first person to notice when something was going wrong with me, and she checked up on me multiple times. And she really was just there for me until I was fully feeling okay. And even then, she still checks up on me now. She has helped me create relationships within the class and outside of class. And she's always there and supports me when I have my little excitements, and she shares the excitement with me. Avid has provided me the wonderful opportunity of being able to tour colleges. We get to visit 2 colleges per year, and hopefully our senior year we get to have an overnight stay at colleges, so then we're able to really experience the full college feel and be able to be choice ready when it comes to graduation. We have guest speakers who come in and they talk to us about their jobs and their careers and give us the opportunity to ask them questions and really have a feel for if we believe that career is a good thing for us to do. Avid has helped me think more about my future instead of just being, oh, it'll come when it comes. I never thought about scholarships because I didn't think that they would apply to me. Before Avid, I was a solid C to D student, possibly Fs, and I never really seemed to care. When I joined Avid, I became a solid A to sometimes having a B in my classes and having a GPA that was always above a 3.5. What I want the school board to know is that Avid has helped me with not only my schoolwork, but also with attaining a job. I am so very grateful for Avid, and because of Avid, I'm able to confidently speak in front of groups like this. Before Avid, I would have never done this. I would have been far too scared to talk in front of 5 people. I don't believe I'd be in the same place without Avid. I don't think I'd have the same opportunities that I have been gratefully gifted, and I think that without Avid, I might not have been able to graduate. Thank you.
My name is Lacey Ramos. Currently, I'm a junior at Grand Forks Central. I'm a part of AVID, which stands for Advancement via Individual Determination. And it's not just a class, it's a community. AVID is recognized as a career and college preparatory class targeted to building valuable skills for use during and after graduation, ensuring AVID students are choice ready upon graduation. My participation in AVID has provided me with a variety of resources to ensure my academic success and college readiness. Some resources include note-taking, tutorials, access to college visits, scholarships, and a community of people committed to learning. Before AVID, I didn't care whether I passed or failed. Academically, I've always tested well and been intelligent at school, but my mindset lacked stability. I lacked motivation to attend school and do assignments. My teachers, my parents, and my peers told me I was smart, but I didn't care about learning or what they had to say. I didn't know how to ask for help, and asking for help made me feel embarrassed. Socially, I cared about fitting in. Academics, especially my future academically, were not on my radar of concern, even when I was failing. However, I was recommended to AVID by my teachers who saw potential in me that I didn't see or feel in myself. I joined AVID because I felt confident when my teachers believed in me. I admire the principles of AVID, and at the time I felt I could have benefited from the program. At first, I was scared. AVID was new and exciting, and I was part of the program out of all people. But AVID has been one of the best things to happen to me. AVID has ignited my passion for learning and driven me to pursue any educational opportunity that comes my way. I now have a positive attitude towards learning and feel excited and confident to pursue secondary education after high school. AVID is a program that has strengthened my emotional and academic awareness. Community service has made me more selfless and kind. College visits have introduced me to the college atmosphere and made me curious about the possibilities of my future. My peers and I describe AVID as rigorous, ambitious, challenging, and helpful. AVID has taught me how to ask good questions and realize that asking questions is how you learn, and to never be shy about learning. Because of AVID, I've become a successful, ambitious, and determined student. Before AVID, I never thought of going to college. I doubted my ability to do it. Neither of my parents went to college, so I'll be going in blind. However, AVID has given me the skills and resources that improve my confidence about going to school and doing well in high school. As an AVID student, I represent something important in my school. Going to meetings like this one, speaking to middle school students, and participating in videos just to spread awareness about the program makes me feel proud and motivated to do more and be better. Avid has contributed largely to my success in high school, and I am thankful to those who have helped me through my high school journey. The relationships I have built and people I have met thanks to this program have undoubtedly changed my life. Without Avid, I would not be half the student and person I am today. Thank you.
I don't know how you follow that. That was kind of a, should we just be done? So the Avid elective class is for a certain population. It's for the academic middle. So not your students who are at risk, or not for your high flyers. It's for that academic middle to help pull that potential, that unlearned potential that maybe they don't know, students don't know that they have. And those are two great examples of pulling potential from those students. So here's some data from last year. Last year we just had Avid elective classes, and that's again the Avid elective class in 7th through 10th grade. And we had Nick Peterson at Valley Middle School who taught our 7th and 8th grade, and he had 66 students, and you can see the demographic graph there. And our 9th and 10th grade Avid elective that was taught by Casey Beck and Becca Lord. You can see the demographic there too. Avid Center will tell us that your Avid elective course should mirror your school demographic, and I think we do a pretty good job of that. Current data, we added the 6th grade Avid launch, like Lisa had mentioned. We still have our 7th, and now we're going through 11th grade, and we will be in full implementation next year. So we'll have our first graduating class, including Lacey and Layla, of our Avid elective students next year, and that's exciting. Our Avid elective teachers, we added Scott Cantrell. He's teaching our sophomores. We also have a partnership with Trio. This is really exciting. So Trio, Derek Sporbert at Trio, has opened up a work study position. So he is paying college kids to come tutor our students in our classroom, which is just incredible in my mind. So that's exciting. So they are the ones that are helping run those tutorials. 193 of our 6th grade students will experience that Avid launch. It's a quarter class. It's like they're pulling curriculum from the Avid elective WAGs is what they're called, and then incorporating what they're focusing on as a school. And then our 7th through 11th, you can see our number of students. We would like anywhere from 32 to 40 students per grade level. As you can see, when you get into the high school, the 9th, 10th, and 11th, students have other elective course options. And so sometimes the Avid elective class just doesn't fit in their schedule. That just means maybe it's not this semester, maybe Avid elective will fit next semester. But with the course offerings at the CIA have impacted our numbers, which we fully support students going to the CIA because that fits right along with the Avid mission and vision. But that also just kind of affects our numbers in the Avid elective course. We will do some heavy recruiting with the boundary lane changes next year. We have more recruiting to happen at Schrader. We were just over at Schrader doing that last week. We have more students coming from that school as well as from Valley. I think we have a couple Valley families, students who are currently in the Avid elective class that will be bound to go to Red River. So we're navigating that new change as to what we should do there. But those are all new changes that we still have to work through. Some of our data, our 9th and 10th grade data from last year, one Avid elective student completed a dual credit course, which is incredible as a sophomore student. Again, this is your academic middle. Student completing a dual credit course as a sophomore is pretty incredible. 6 Avid elective students completed an AP course, and then you can see the breakout for how many students were enrolled in at least one AP dual credit CTE or Project Lead the Way course. There's a peek at our 25-26 data, which is our current data. 11 students are currently enrolled in a dual credit AP course, 22 are enrolled in a CT course, and you can see the data per grade level. One thing about that Avid elective class is we really encourage students to take more rigorous courses and to, again, tap into that unlearned potential that they don't know that they have. And then our Avid elective class is there to support them do that. That's when they bring their points of confusion to those tutorials on those Tuesdays and Thursdays. So how we Avidize, one of the core components, one of the teacher inputs or AVID inputs is our WICR, strategy-based instruction. So WICR stands for Writing, Inquiry, Collaboration, Organization, and Reading. It is the core of AVID, and it's the engine of high-quality instruction. It provides consistent, research-based framework for teaching and learning across all content. It's not an extra, but it strengthens the instruction teachers are already doing. It makes learning active, rigorous, and student-centered. They ensure that students aren't just receiving information, they're processing it, questioning it, discussing it, and applying it. And so when we ask our teachers to leverage WICR strategies to increase the level of rigor, that's a mouthful. We, as our AVID schools, all needed to have a common definition of what is rigor. So we adopted AVID's definition of rigor using inquiry-based collaborative strategies to challenge and engage students, resulting in increasingly complex levels of understanding. So when we're asking our teachers in our school-wide AVID model to increase and leverage those WICR strategies like we just discussed, I, as a district director, was like, how can I help support our sites? And then also, how can I help manage and collect data on whether or not it's happening? So I created a template on an AVID app that has all of the skills that we would use to increase or that would meet the level of rigor using those WICR strategies. And I do monthly rigor walkthroughs in our AVID sites. And I spend an hour at each building walking through classrooms, collecting on my app, collecting that data, and then at the end, it spits out information like this, where our gaps are and where our strengths are, so that we can use that data to help make our school improvement goals for the following year. This is the final slide. I think I can make it. So one of the big intentions with this slide, and I want to say it first, and I'll probably say it again at the end, is that we have intentional conversations whenever we're sending somebody to an AVID professional learning event. We have intentional conversations with each site and those people going on, A, are we being fiscally responsible with sending those and what we're doing, what we're sending, and B, what is our return on investment, and how are we going to measure that, and what does that look like? So there's many different AVID professional learnings, and some come with our contract and some don't. The Summer Institute is not something that comes with our contract, but 4 of our 5 schools use their Title I funds to send small groups to attend, and that's typically in the summer. Valley Middle School had created their own summer learning opportunities where they created their own Summer Institute here in town. One thing that's part of our contract is we get AVID Live, which is a virtual PD, 1 per site. It's like a 2-day event where you can send somebody to get training on their community of practice. Part of our contract is also AVID professional learning modules. Those are completely free, and those are modules that our site coordinators have been trained to deliver to their staff, and that helps with those WICR strategies and how to teach them and how to deliver them, what that looks like. And that training typically happens in the fall or in their instructional learning times. We have our AVID professional learning workshops, which we partner with West Fargo, Bismarck, Moorhead, East Grand Forks, all have our AVID schools. And we just hosted, again, partnership with TRIO. They set us up at this UND Memorial Union or Student Union in a space up there. They paid for a space for us, all of those schools and district sites to come and learn. AVID Center sends people to us to train us. We had our site leadership teams, and then it helps us plan for our upcoming goals. And then the national conference, and this is exciting. We will have Grand Forks Public Schools representation. Myself, Dr. Catherine Galach, and Mr. John Strandell will be presenting at the national conference, which is really bad timing that my voice is losing because that happens on Friday. So I'm hoping that my voice comes back. But we get to speak at a national conference. Well, there'll be thousands of people there across our nation. And so we are excited for that. I think that's it. I think I'm going to be done. Does anybody have any questions about the AVID piece?
Do any board members have questions or cough drops?
Yeah, thank you.
Questions about AVID? Oh, a comment from Mr. Bakke?
Yeah, I was just going to comment, if this didn't highlight the impact and the work that's being done by these fine individuals, the other individuals in our audience that are making a extremely big impact on our students, I don't know what would. But the 2 students highlighted exactly the impact that this program is making across our campuses, from the elementary to the high school to the middle school, all the way across the board. So I just want to thank these individuals for all the work they're doing.
Questions about this program from board members? Yes, Dr. Hodek.
I just have one comment. Can you take the 2 students with you?
They'd be great national speakers.
They would be excellent to
They
show.
would, for sure.
Any others? Okay, thank you very much. We'll move on.
I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Dietrich to cover special education numbers and give us some information on what our numbers looked like last year. So, Dr. Dietrich.
Good evening, President Berger and members of the school board. I am Lisa Diedrich. I'm the Executive Director of Special Education, and I have just a few slides that show our numbers in special education. Every year on December 1, it's a big day in special education nationwide. That's when the federal government conducts their annual count, and so from December 1 on, that's the count that we use when we talk about special education. So for the 24-25 school year, our count was at 1,532. That represented 20% of our students were served on an IEP, and you can see that was up quite a bit from the 1,473 from the 23-24 school year. Our December 1 just happened, of course, last week, and so those numbers aren't quite in yet, but we do anticipate that we will have another increase. This is a question I get quite a bit. What does that 1532 look like in Grand Forks? And this is a picture of what we serve. You can see that specific learning disability, that's the 28%, that's learning disability. That really makes up the bulk of what the students that we serve. Autism is at 9.3, that's a category that's growing. And emotional disability, I just wanted to point out that the label there did change. It was formerly emotional disturbance. North Dakota, it is still recognized as emotional disturbance nationwide, but North Dakota took a step to call it emotional disability instead. The other thing that I did want to point out is that hearing impairments is what we call the label that we have for students who have an impairment with their hearing. Federally, it is deaf and then deaf or hard of hearing. North Dakota this year decided to combine it, and so you have deaf and hard of hearing combined into just the one category of hearing impairments. So any questions about our data here and what it looks like in Grand Forks?
Dr. Lund?
What's the state average for IEPs? We're at 20%, and I noticed we're up over 5% in the last 10 years. Do we know what the state average is?
Yeah, that's a great question. I believe the state average is somewhere between 17 and 18%. Some districts are a little bit lower at the 14%. We are on the higher end at that 20% mark.
I'm going to piggyback on that if you don't mind, and then question number 2.
Well, no, it was about that. So
go ahead.
Do you have the why? Why? And I've asked this, I've been on the board too long, but I've asked it lots. But I'm curious if you have any ideas about why are we at 20% and other schools are at 15 and 16 and 18?
Yeah, why are our numbers higher? That's a great question. I get asked that a lot. We don't really dive in and uncover the why, but we have a few speculations that we can make. We do have some group homes that do attract people from outside of our actual city, and they come to live here with us, and we're happy to welcome them and to serve them. But it does increase our numbers. We also are known to have a good special education program, so people move here to get our resources. Again, we're always happy to serve them, but it does drive our number up.
I just want to piggyback on that because you've heard me say this before. I'm a mathlete. I say that loudly and proudly, and sometimes we make I think we make an error by saying we're up 5% in 10 years. The percentage of overall enrollment has increased 5%. The number of students on an IEP has increased 44%. As a raw number. So I just want everybody to hear that. We're not talking about serving 5%, like an increase. It was 5% more on a 1067 number is 50 some. We've actually gone up about 450 students. So it's a staggering number in a decade. So it's not lost on us the impact across our district. So any other questions? Yep, Dr. Lund again.
and I correct myself, I'm a pediatrician, I don't go above the number 10. So you're the math whiz. One of the reasons I ask that is I hear from people is, well, you guys have different criteria for IEP than elsewhere. And my understanding is our criteria are the same as any other. It's not like we're over-diagnosing things or anything. It's standardized criteria wherever. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. So our state publishes the guidelines to define what each of these disability categories looks like. So we use those disability criteria, and when we conduct an evaluation, every single time we look at what disability category might fit that student best. And then our school psychologists, most of the time, lead the discussion of what category is the best fit if there is a disability. With the speech language impairment, that is the one time that the speech language pathologists lead that conversation. Our psychologists don't lead that conversation. But our school psychologists are really instrumental in leading that conversation, making sure that we're thoroughly looking at the criteria. And if a student doesn't meet the criteria, then the student is not identified with a disability. But yes, there are defined criteria, and we follow that very closely.
You have a follow-up comment, Dr. Brenner?
Dr. Dietrich, do you just want to enlighten the board on the other health impaired? That's almost at 20%, and who those students are, please. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great point as well. So other health impaired would, about 5 years ago, when we looked at ADHD, we really looked at that as more of an emotional disability. And when we really dug into our criteria, we realized that it felt more under that other health impaired. So other health impaired is really a generic term. It encompasses so many things. If you have a medical diagnosis like ADHD, it encompasses many more medical diagnoses than just that, though. So other health impaired has really been the category that catches all the times that students come to us and they have a reason that they're not learning, and it's medically based. They typically have a diagnosis when we identify with somebody with other health impaired.
Other questions? All right, we'll move on to the setting slide.
Yes, and then this is just where our students are served. Again, we have a lot of acronyms here, and special education is known to have a lot of them. Setting A. So setting A is the setting that most students are in. To be in a setting A, students are in the gen ed classroom 80% or more of the day. Our setting B students are in the gen ed classroom anywhere from 40 to 80% of the day, and then our setting C students are in the classroom 40% or less of the day. We federally are required to serve some students in our private schools, so it's really parentally placed in a private school. And so there's a proportionate share of our federal grant that we use to serve those students. That amount is set each year. And so that means that we set the amount of services that we provide at our parochial schools before the school year starts, and that doesn't fluctuate even if the number of students fluctuates throughout the school year. And then, of course, our early childhood special education. That category is one that is growing for us. We have many students identified, young students identified as having an educational disability, and we're serving them. And of course, that setting looks different because they're young and they're not in our gen ed school quite yet. There is also a federal setting D, and that is a separate school, and that's not a setting we have at this time. Any questions about where we serve our students?
Any questions? Mr. Bakke, I see your mic is on. Are you posed and poised? No, just checking. Questions from board members? Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Dietrich. And now we'll hand it over to Ivona Todorovic, who serves as our ML coordinator. And she'll go through some of our numbers from last year. As you anticipated and as you heard loud and clear from us last year, you would see quite an increase on this annual report, as you'll see in the numbers. So I'll let Ivona take it over. Thank you.
Well, good evening, the president and the board members. I'm really honored that you are giving me this opportunity to share about the multilingual education program. We have, the past 2 years, especially 23, 24, 25, we had an influx, how would we say it, a lot of families, international families, immigrant families coming to our community from different sources and lots of kids. So as you see, last year on September 29th, we had 462 kids with 247 immigrants and 80 refugee students. I just want to point out that refugees are immigrants, but they're not included because they will be doubling up the numbers, and that the math would not match up. Also among those, we have the USA-born ML students, and I think up to the point when I took over, actually, that was kind of an overlooked fact. So from now on, I think we will be looking at that too, because we have actually quite a few US-born ML students. There are over 100, and to be honest with you, I'm still cleaning up the data. When when Chief Officer Amy talked about the STARS and Power School, I've been since this position, and since I took it over, and they kept telling me, STARS is not talking to Power School, but when we get Infinitive Campus, it's going to be perfect. So I'm really waiting for that day when all the data is going to be perfect, because a lot of things are not matching. And then, so we just have to dig a little bit more. So some of the highlights I want to just share with you. A year later, right now, of December, last Friday, we have 477 kids. Tomorrow we'll have 478 because we just got a new student from Brazil, Matuas. And among those, we have 156 level 1 students. There are 6 levels, 83 level 2s, 136 level 3s, and 102 level 4s. One thing that shows our growth, that 68 students from last year exited. Hadn't they, we would have over almost 600 students in the program. So that's a good thing, and that shows also the growth. Another thing is that shows that we had more of the level 1s and newcomers last year, but then a lot of them jumped to level 3, which is a good thing. It is also harder to go from level 3 to level 4 because it takes a lot of academic language and cognitive demand, and goes with a grade level 2. So as of now, this is the second year that we have actually Spanish as our #1 language in the district, 196. And then for a long this time period was Nepali and Somali. Now we have second and third still are Nepali 59 and Somali 38. And then we go into French, Mandingo, Pashto, Indian, Chinese, Vietnamese, and so on. Some of the languages we never had so many of them in numbers we have now. Also, there is another culture that's coming in, a GE, or formerly Wendell Empower, is bringing Brazilians to work at the company, and then so we have experience, bless you, a lot of Brazilian families coming in, and then the student that's going to show up in Power School and hopefully in STARS tomorrow, it's one from Brazil, yeah. So other highlights would be that we were awarded through a refugee resettlement agency last year a nice amount of money to support refugee families and refugee students in our district. So we use that money for the 2 year of piloting implementation, computer-based platform for learning academic language, which is called Summit K-12. And this is the first year that actually we have something that's concrete that measures the mid-year progress of these students. And I think another thing is that every student comes with the 4 licenses, so the whole family can learn, and even more. So the past month or so, I've been busy training those families. We started with Winship. We had a huge crowd there. And then Viking, Red River, and so on. And this year, tomorrow, unless we have a storm day, I don't know, we'll see. I am at Discovery and then Central and then finishing up with Century. So anyway, so it's been a really great, just for families coming and willing to learn, and also other businesses in our town to reach out to me and social services and say, hey, we heard about that program that it's giving every family 4 licenses. Can you tell us more about it? So that kind of led to this year's recipient of that award is actually Global Friends Coalition, and that they are working together with our program in our district to support those families, because we do have quite a few of those students who had interrupted schooling or no formal education. So when you have to learn how to read and write in another language, and you never learn how to do that in your first language, it's really hard. So we are meeting and collaborating together, and probably me training their volunteers how to go into their homes and work on some of the K-12, but also UFly and everything else that is available to us. And because it's really important. How do they say, literacy is justice, and that's what it is, and I think they need to have that in order to do anything else. So I think that's another one. And then, so speaking of a great community that we have here, Alyssa, or I should say Dr. Diedrich, and then MTSS coordinators, Jess and Amy, and I and Brandon start meeting together with one of the psychologists, Lisa Vivo from Florida, and we are actually working on referral processes for MTSS for the ML students. What we found out here in our district, we are under-identifying our kids. So some of our students, we call them experienced MLs or long-term MLs. Actually, we are finding out that's not just a language barrier, linguistic barrier, but there's something more. So we are actually meeting on Thursday morning and almost completing that path for the secondary, and then our next job, hopefully by the end of January, beginning February, will be completing for elementary. Just the amount of collaboration and working together and being just, I'm just in awe, and being on the same page and talking, and it's just amazing, that networking piece. But also the full adoption of the new ELA curriculum, which you heard of with wisdom, I call it WW, which is a language rich and incorporates the science of reading. It is great to see many of ML students. I was this morning at Viking, and I had this little girl, oh my gosh, her name is Sarah, from Afghanistan. She didn't know how to say hi in English. And this morning, we were learning about sharks, and she opens the shark book, and she just reads to me, even the hard words. And I was like, oh my gosh, I almost actually texted Jess Porby and say, hey, my gosh, science of reading is really working, even with our kids. Anyway, so it's just amazing how much of progress they had. And I think thanks to our chief officer, Amy Barcher, and all the team members that she has on, that they included me as soon as I step, in this role. And we meet every month, and we plan, and we see what is working, what is not working. We are on the same page, and we are just, going further down and researching to add more ML strategies, whatever we're doing, into our curriculum and what our kids deserve. That's our job, to teach them. And these families are really amazing. They're so thankful being here in this community. And my heart goes to them every single day, because sometimes we have some hard days and some easy days, and then hard days and easy days. But if we work together, we can accomplish a lot of things. So I think that's basically what I have today for you. Any questions for me?
Questions for Mr. Dorvich? Mr. Bakke, do you want to kick it off?
Yeah, can I just highlight something that Ivona started her position in the fall of 2023, the same fall that I started. And in that time frame, you'll see the data up there. We doubled in numbers in the last 2.5 years. Also, since then, She was serving in her first year as a full-time teacher and full-time ML coordinator. Also, since then, we've added 2 programs at the elementary level, 1 at the middle school, and sheltered classrooms at one of our high schools. I just want you to understand the breadth of work that this woman has done in the short amount of time that she's been in her role and the impact that she's made. She's done a tremendous job, and we're lucky to have her as an asset in our district. So I just want to compliment her for the work she's done. So
He's making me blush, but thank you. I do think it's the teamwork, honestly. It's the community of educators here. It is the schools. It's everyone. I mean, last week and week before, I did PDs, during the team time at Valley. And it's the small steps in the right directions, I would say. So anyway, thank you, Mr. Baki, but honestly, it's just not me. It's my staff, number one, and our families are just absolutely amazing. And everyone here. So, any other questions?
Questions?
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
We have one last little bit. Is that back to you, Mr. Baki?
yes, it is. I just gotta
Standing
grab
in
the clicker.
for
Yep.
Mr. Gillespie? Okay.
All right, Director Gillespie wasn't able to be here this evening, so I'm standing in here for him. The first data point that he has pulled for you is the teacher absences. As you'll see, he's narrowed down for sick leave, professional development, personal leave, family illness, extracurricular bereavement. The other category that we have is other, and that other category is primarily parental leave. Actually, 1,133 of those days are just from parental leave, and then the rest come from jury duty, military, GFEA, dock days, or emergency leave. I know the board has asked about the leave for our teacher absences, and so Director Gillespie wanted to include this in the annual report so that you could all see that. Okay. The next category, the next slide I have here for you is the certified demographics. Again, this just lays out the number of teachers we have from year to year, as well as our other licensed staff. Other licensed staff would include our instructional coaches, literacy specialists, administrators, counselors, librarians, you name it, in that other licensed staff. And as you can see, we saw a slight decrease in our staffing from 23-24 to 24-25. Then the last slide here is the classified demographics. Again, we have our paras, our custodians slash B&G staff, nutrition services, secretary, admin assistants, and then other. Other would include our classified would include our classroom specialists, our nurses, any of our business office staff, our HR staff here in the district office, really any of the individuals that don't hold that certification in education. So those would be the other categories. And as you can see, we saw a slight increase from 23-24 to 24-25 in those support staff. One other thing Director Gillespie wanted me to point out was the increase you'll see from 22-23 to 23-24 in the total number of classified staff, primarily in relation to other. That jump, as you'll see there, from 94 to 133 is primarily because of the classroom specialist position became a classified category. And so those individuals, those employees, previously were paid through COVID relief dollars, actually came on to our classified staff personnel and became part of that. And so that's why you see that jump of roughly around 40 employees. So just to mention that.
Questions on these last couple of pages that Mr. Baki might be able to answer on behalf of Director Gillespie? Dr. Lund?
Can we go back to the other for just a second? Because if you look at other, I'm looking from 2018 all the way to today. I mean, it went from 65 to 143, and that's more than just the 40 of the classified not getting COVID. Are there other things going on there that we should be aware of or know about? It just seems like, when you look at the other ones, they're all relatively flat.
Can you rephrase exactly where you're looking at, Dr.
So
Lund?
I'm on the other category. So if you
Oh.
look back at 2018, there were 65, and now there's 143. So I'm just wondering, are there other things besides that? And you may not know the answer, and that's fine, so.
And I don't know that answer, but we could definitely dive into those numbers and get back to you on that. Yep.
Well, only if it's really germane to the board. It may be perfectly logical. It's just different than the other categories, so.
Yeah, great question.
Other questions? Dr. Hodek?
Mine aren't necessarily questions, but I did do what I would consider a deep dive into this information. I first want to thank you because when we are looking at those budget issues that we're having and so forth, this has come to mind. And so when I look at it, I went back to, because of the year to 18-19 all the way to 2024. Basically, what I've seen within the district is that we've increased our students by 314, but we've also employed an additional 223 employees. So that's a pretty good ratio if you were to break that down. But at the same time, and I so appreciate looking at all this information, I also noticed that the special education numbers have increased. The multilingual issues have increased from all of the reports that we've gotten before on the behavioral issues that have increased and such. So basically, what I'm commenting about is when we get recommendations, if I understand it correctly, for where we're going to be doing some budget cuts, I'm going to hope that we can have some of this hardcore data with us to look at that. Because in my mind, I too go to numbers. And so if I were to take those 314 students and I just grabbed a number of, let's say we were getting $16,000 a student, which we're not getting federally funded, what we should be when you talk 44% increase in special education. Gee, did we get that from the feds for those mandates and such? But if I take those 314 students and multiply that by 16,000 that we're getting, that's a little about over $5 million. But when I take those employees, and I was thinking, okay, go to the lowest number of paying $17 for our paras, because that's where we've really seen a huge increase, $17 to $22. And so I multiplied that by those 223 employees, just at a minimal of $30,000 in salary for them. Guess what? That puts us over almost $8 million. So when we start to take a look at that, we have a budget that is 87% towards employees and staff, we can actually see this picture just from these few graphs that you've handed out. But I think we are still going to need a lot more when we start to look at what we're going to do with the budget. So I just wanted to make those comments.
Other comments or questions from board members? Well, that concludes the annual report. Again, this is an item for discussion tonight and not for action. But before we move on to item 6, anything else from board members? Anything else from you, Mr. Bakke?
I would just like to say thank you to all the presenters today. They spent quite a bit of time here and organization and planning to prepare and run all these numbers for you. And I just want to say thank you to all of them for all the work they do, but also for doing the extra work when it comes to the data and the information for all of you. So,
okay. Again, one final time, board members, on this annual report from the last academic year. All right, we'll move on then to item 6. 6A is our consent agenda. I would seek a motion to approve the consent agenda as outlined in your board packet. It's been moved by Mr. Clevin and a second by Dr. Lund. Is that correct? Yeah. We'll take a roll call vote.
Palmasino?
Yes.
Lund?
Yes.
Larson is absent. Flynn?
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Hodak,
Yes.
Manley, Clevin,
Yes.
Berger,
Yes.
H yes, 0 no, 1 absent.
Motion passes. 6B, consideration of curriculum proposal for 2026-2027. Dr. Glatch.
Thank you, Chair Berger. So in front of you is a memo that basically is a summary that was reviewed last time you met. Thank you, Dr. Brenner, for pinch hitting for me during my absence last time. You can see the curriculum review members listed there. It's a broad array of people from different positions from the high school level. And you can see the consideration criteria that we take under regard when we are making these decisions. We look at the number of electives already offered in the department, expansion of what we call multiple pathways and or enrichment opportunities for students, inclusion of 21st century skills and choice ready alignment, similar content not already addressed in other curricular areas, mandated courses, in other words, state law driven, collaboration between high school staff regarding proposal, staffing material costs, and equitable offerings at each campuses. There was an update provided to you in Friday Focus that answered, I think, some of the questions that came out of the last process. So I'm going to motor through the recommendations here and just take questions at the end, hoping that's acceptable. I want to emphasize the fact that no course recommended for addition will result in an increase in staffing, nor incur other general fund expenses. So these are cost-neutral recommendations. So the courses recommended for approval include Drumline, Exploring Healthcare Careers, Advanced Manufacturing 1, Advanced Manufacturing 2, so those are 2 paired semester courses, Dual Credit Anatomy and Physiology, A and B, so again 2 paired semester courses, Spanish for Native Heritage Speakers 1, which was piloted last year, so we want to make that a permanent part of the course catalog, and Spanish for Native/Heritage Speakers 2. Courses recommended then for deletion would be the robotics course, and I believe Dr. Brenner highlighted the why behind that. It's being rolled into the manufacturing curriculum as proposed. So students will still have an opportunity to engage in that sort of formal learning around robotics. Additional information, the committee approved virtual high school and school within a school staff to open up additional online courses within what we use, which is the Edgenuity platform, as long as those course standards are in line with DPI requirements and local priority standard alignment. So there are some course titles there that don't have the exact title in Edgenuity as the titles that we have in our buildings, but the standards align, so we gave permission for those to be opened up, working in conjunction with our high school administrators. So the administrative recommendation is to approve the curriculum proposal for the 26-27 school year as presented tonight, and I'm poised to take any questions.
Questions from board members for Dr. Glatch? Oh, there's been a motion to approve the curriculum proposal for 2026-2027. Is there a second? It's been seconded by Mr. Anderson. Any discussion about any of the 7 courses, questions about the 7 recommended for approval, the 1 for deletion, or the additional information from board members? Mr. Clevin?
The pilot program for the Spanish as native language, how did that measure? Did it do what the program we thought it would do?
Yes, so I actually had the pleasure of observing that classroom when one of our Fulbright scholars was there as a co-teacher, and it is a phenomenal learning environment. It's a place where you heard Ivona talk about students who are ML learners who maybe didn't learn proficiency levels in their native language. That's the population that is largely served in that classroom. It's also a place where our ML learners can connect with other students with lived experience and feel completely themselves welcomed, that whole school culture type connection that is so important to the learning process. So they've had wild success in that program, which is why you see it recommended to be part of the next catalog. They also have done some corollary. I don't have the data in front of me, but the students' achievement in their other courses because of that, because they're building academic foundational skills, vocabulary skills, and things of that nature that help them in their other courses as well, that are kind of mainstream courses, if you will.
And that academic performance was measurable?
Yes. I talked to the teachers about that, and they were tracking both the student proficiency levels, again, within the English language, but also student academic achievement as far as credits earned and things of that nature in other courses. And there was a positive correlation there.
Other questions from board members? Dr. Hodak.
Thank you for the explanations, because I was the one that was asking a lot of questions last time. But I do need some further explanation on the drum line, and I have some assumptions there. When we have a pep band performance of that $2,402, so it's no longer going to be a co-curricular course, so that would be a savings then to the district.
No, so currently that pep band stipend covers both what you see if you attend any of our games when the entire pep band is there and the drum line. So there will be no additional stipend on top of that, but we weren't looking to remove that.
But the drum line will be removed from the co-curricular and into the
There's no
class.
separate stipend currently, so
Okay.
it's cost neutral in that regard.
Okay. So the drum line, what happens to a student that has had able to take drumline because it was a co-curricular, so it wasn't against any other courses?
That, actually, it's largely going to be the same end result because drumline is typically offered either during 0 hour or 8th period. And when the instructors did the math on the number of hours that they were committing to either showing up early or staying late, it equated to, why aren't we giving them a credit for this, half credit for this experience?
That was,
so it really should be a net neutral.
That was my assumption, that it has to be 0 hour or 8. Okay. So I think that takes care of my questions.
Other questions from board members? Mr. Clevin?
And I might have asked this when we heard our first reading, like, we're not concerned that this kind of creates additional complexity that's distracting from a fundamental K or secondary education outcome. Like, there's just a lot of stuff here.
Yep.
That doesn't seem like part of a core curriculum.
Great question. The majority of these classes, you're right, they're not required classes. They are elective classes to a large degree, and it aligns with our alternative pathways commitment, our robust program of studies commitment, where we want students to be able to have choice that aligns with their career paths eventually, or their current passions and interests. And the way that the registration process at the high school level works every year, irrespective of what we add or delete from the course catalog, is that the enrollment drives the staffing. And so we have offered courses. I'll give you an example. There was a course that we approved, I think it was 3 years ago now, that is AP Art History. It seems like every other year there's enough enrollment to actually run that section. On the off year, that teacher is teaching a different section to have a full-time equivalency in their workload. So it works out quite well in the end. So again, in the whole program of studies, not every course that you see there is offered every single year. It's driven by student interest, which is something that we've committed to.
I'm going to ask one follow-up to that. Is it sometimes the case where between our two high schools, Central and Red River, there's enough to offer one and students would travel or learn remotely, or does that ever enter into these conversations?
It does. It's not perfect. In an ideal world, we would have the same exact opportunities at both campuses. That's not how it manifests itself. We do try to, the two high school principals work together so that when there is a discrepancy, there could be an opportunity to travel, but sometimes that's a barrier for kids as well, in all transparency. But we do the best that we can in those instances.
Thank you. Other questions for Dr. Galach? There's a motion on a second to approve these changes, the curriculum proposal for 2026-2027. We'll take a roll call vote.
Hodak?
Yes.
Clevin?
No.
Manley?
Yes.
Larson is absent. Flynn?
Yes.
Lunn?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Palmasino?
Yes.
Berger?
Yes.
7 yes, 1 no, and 1 absent.
Motion passes. Move on then to the district calendar for 2026, 6C, the general fund financial statement. Did not mean to skip you, Mr. Bombach.
Thank you, President Berger. Happy to present the financial statement. This is through the first 5 months of operation here, fiscal year 26. General funds account for $49,868,912. whereas expenditures are $40,787,864, resulting in revenue over expenditures at this point in the year of just over $9 million. The two reports in front of you, the first being the variance. It's first column budget, second column actual for those first 5 months. You can see that of revenues, 38.3% of what's been budgeted has come in, and expenditures, 30.1% of what is budgeted. Just note too, what gets my attention by looking at that is, revenues, states are right on track. It's really quite formulaic. Local will come in as property taxes do, and the feds are reimbursement based. When you look at the comparability report, the next one is you'll notice a difference in just where we were from last year to this year. That could be a combination of grants that are in, and also just where we're at in calling those dollars in. We are going to be, you'll see that number come up here as we get those federal reimbursements back in. But from last year, I take a number of notes on that variance report. As you can see here, I've articulated a number of those. Some are still variance, but we're getting now where we get a bit of a track record in and we start to see things. So what I'm watching closely is our classified staff costs, as well as, I would say, even our utility costs, watching closely those going forward. Some bright news too, other expenditures overall are down 2%, which could be variance, but like I said, as we get a track record in now, it's good to see, given that most things are only increasing costs. So looking at the aggregate, that's a positive sign. Graphical depictions, the final 3 slides of the report can show that exactly what has been numerically valued of the revenues are right about the last couple of years, whereas expenditures are down from 2 years ago, but up a hair from last year. And the general fund balance is what we'd expect it to be, is down with last year's loss, but tracking the same overall trend that you would see on that. So the administrative recommendation is to approve the general fund financial statement for the period of July 1, 2025 through November 30, 2025, and happy to answer any questions.
Questions from board members for Mr. Baumbach? I'd seek a motion to approve the general fund financial statement for July 1, 2025 through November 30th, 2025. It's been moved by Mr. Palmasino. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Manley. Any further discussion? Take a roll call vote.
Clevin? Yes. Larson is absent. Palmasino? Yes. Lund? Yes. Manley? Yes. Flynn? Yes. Hodak?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Berger?
Yes.
8 yes, 0 no, 1 absent.
Motion passes. 6D, district calendar for 2026-2027. Mr. Bakke.
President Berger, members of the board, it's my distinct honor to present to you the district calendar for 26-27 school year. In accordance with School Board Policy ABAB, the district calendar shall be presented to the board each year at a regular board meeting no later than February. Additionally, the board shall approve the start and end dates and teacher blackout dates. The district calendar committee, which last school year was led by Dr. Glatch, met 2 times last spring, and then this fall we have met 3 times to review options for the 26-27 school calendar. I've attached that school calendar just for a visual perspective so you understand what it all entails. I've also outlined in this memo what our committee's collective goals were, as well as factors that were considered when making this calendar. After reviewing all of those factors, putting those collective goals together, it was unanimous recommendation to move forward with this school calendar. As you'll see, the recommendation, administrative recommendation is to start and end dates for the 26-27 school year include kindergarten through 9th grade beginning on Wednesday, August 26th, and 10th through 12th starting on Thursday, August 27th, 2026, with all grades ending on Thursday, May 27th, 2027. Also below, there is a list of the members of the district calendar committee for your reference. I would stand for any questions that you may have.
Questions from board members for Mr. Bakke? Dr. Hodak?
Yes, just one question. Did Eric Ripley serve on this or help because of the scheduling with the, out at the Career and Tech? I mean,
He does not serve on the committee, but we do communicate with him, as well as one of our items that we consider is the CT scheduling, and something that we always coordinate with him.
because of the other school districts as well.
That on top of just some of the way the schedules fall, as well as the CTE has an event that they put on, and I'm trying to recall. Thank you. The career day, in which we always try to coordinate around that as well too.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions? Ms. Flynn and then Dr. Lund?
Has the NDUS calendar been published yet for 2026, 2027? And do you know if the spring break lines up?
So this next upcoming year, the spring break does not line up, unfortunately. However, the 27, 28 calendar is looking to line up with that.
Is it because of,
It typically is because
Easter.
of Easter and the way the holidays fall. Yeah.
okay.
Dr. Lund, did you have something?
Well, one quick comment, that I know there'll be families that'll be happy because they have a week of spring break again. And even though we as a board don't have anything to do with that, it'll be interesting to see how many kids miss Monday and Tuesday next March when there's only 3 days. I was wondering, did the budget realignment process or concept play into a factor at this at all?
No.
I just have a couple of quick comments. Some of it's been touched on already. First of all, it's a robust number of individuals. You have 16 people to agree on how to get all of our contact days with students and work around holidays. I know if we were to do polling, no matter which year, no matter which calendar, it would be 51-49 either way on some of these key questions. And what makes it the most difficult, to Ms. Flynn's question about why can't it always line up with this thing, or why can't it always be the same number of days? Why can't our winter break be, something count-onable? It has to do with movable holidays. This December, Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve are on Wednesdays. That's different than when they're on Saturdays. Easter can move as much as 4 weeks. It's based on the moon. It's not anyone's fault. It's just how it works. And we walk back from that moon phase to find out when those dates are. And so there are things beyond our control that can get in the way of what some people's perception might be as consistency. But the consistent work is this committee's doing the best it can within the framework. And so I think I've probably tipped my hand in terms of which way I'm going to be voting. But for those listening, if you're still listening, thank you for hanging on 2 hours and 40 minutes. We have these movable pieces that are just different from one year to the next. So I think it bears mentioning. Any other questions? Yes, Mr. Bakke?
And so I'll just add to that, well said, by the way, President Berger. The administrative recommendation is to approve the 26-27 start and end dates and blackout dates as presented. And then later on this school year, I will bring the preliminary start and end dates and blackout dates for the 27-28 school year, which we're already working on.
Yeah, thank you for that reminder. Any other questions, Mr. Clevin? So motion on the floor to approve the 2026-2027 start and end dates and blackout dates as presented in your packet. Is there a second? Second. Second by Dr. Hodak. Any further discussion? Take a roll call vote.
Anderson? Yes. Flynn? Hodak?
Yes.
Clevin?
Yes.
Larson is absent. Lund?
Yes.
Manley?
Yes.
Palmasino? Berger?
Yes.
8 yes, 0 no, 1 absent.
Motion passes. 7A, announcements. Any weather-related announcements or others?
We are watching the weather. I'll have another phone call, Zoom call with community leaders tomorrow morning at 5:30, so we won't make any decisions until that time. Thank you.
Okay, just a reminder, we are in just a brief moment going to adjourn this meeting and reconvene at Valley Middle School for the Facilities Committee meeting of the whole. A tour of that completed, nearly completed facility, an update, as you can see in the minutes, or the agenda, excuse me, for that meeting, an update on the transition plan from the current Valley Middle School over to the new school, which now we're talking about happening in a matter of weeks, which is amazing to be able to say. But just wanted you all to travel there safely. So we won't know exactly when we can call that meeting to order, but as quickly as we can all safely regather at the new Valley Middle School. Are there any other announcements? Yes, Mr. Baumbach, and then we'll come over here.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Berger. Just to mention, the parking lot at the new Valley Middle School will be open for parking. Be careful of the conditions, though, because it's still an active construction site, so it might be slippery. But we'll convene in the site trailer first to get the proper PPE before entering the school building.
Thank you for that. Are there other announcements? I thought I heard or saw someone over here. Mr. Clevin?
Not an announcement, but for point of order, could we convene the facilities committee meeting here, take care of the minutes and anything else, and then go to adjournment of that committee and reconvene at the site?
I don't believe so. I believe that has to take place within that that framework. We certainly could look at doing that inside in the trailer, call the meeting to order, approve those minutes. It's a fairly short agenda beyond that. But I hear what you're saying. Am I correct in that assumption, Dr. Brenner?
You're correct, because it's advertised to be at the new Valley Middle School. Yeah, thank you.
Dr. Lund?
Just a quick one, because I have to leave for Fargo, so I'm not going to stay to go to Valley. I just want to make sure you guys still have a quorum to conduct business when you get over there, so you may just want to make sure at least 5 of you are going to go there, because I have to leave and get on the road.
Yeah, that's understandable. Are there, just so that we know that for certain, are there any other board members who are not able to make that facilities committee meeting of the whole?
I've been recovering from the flu and I'm hitting a wall, so I will not be going.
Okay. So I think by my count, that leaves us at 6. And I think we would be able to conduct the business with the 6 of us. Thank you for that. Yep, thank you for raising that question. Any other announcements? 7B, board requests for future consideration. Dr. Hodak?
It's not really request for future consideration. It's more of a comment that we are getting towards our retreat this week coming up on Friday. And I really want to emphasize that, well, I'll start quickly this way. Brandon, I thank you so much for what was in the paper regarding the new facilities position and how that you did a lot of vetting of the description and that you're looking to see what needs that we have and how the job description could change a little bit with that and such. With that, I want to stress that I really think that if we're going to be cutting positions, I would like to see more information regarding building, those numbers that we got today regarding each building, how many paras per students, what are some of the caseload numbers that those special ed teachers have, where are those positions being used, is it academic support, is it teacher support? Even when they spoke tonight about the teachers and getting an assessment, I just want to make my point. My point is, in order for me to make any discussion, any good decisions, that I don't want them based on emotion, I don't want them based on anything anecdotal, I want them to be based on the facts that look and stare us in the face, because when we have $4 million deficit spending, I need that information. So that's it.
Thank you. Other board requests for future consideration? And thank you also for that helpful reminder about Friday morning, 8 a.m. to noon. That was an announcement and a request, so thank you for both of those. Okay, finally, 7C, school board meeting norms. Mr. Clevin, how did we do? Okay, thank you. And we are adjourned.